Welcome back to Second and Short. It is Friday, January 26th, 2024. I'm here, as per usual, with Luke, right by my side, ready to roll. It is championship weekend. It is officially upon us. Come Sunday, the biggest sporting
Never
event
do that.
in the country will be set. One of the biggest in the world, honestly. The Super Bowl will be set after the end of this weekend, and we're officially less than a month from the beginning of spring training in the MLB. The first game will be February 22nd. Pitchers and catchers report as soon as February 9th, just 2 weeks away. We're fully past the halfway mark of the Premier League season. The January transfer window closes like a week from right now as we're recording. Um, Honestly, to me, the prime of sports is quickly slipping away from us. Um, I guess I'll just go ahead and pose the
Mm.
question to you. What do you think is your like? What's the window for the prime of sports for you?
Oh man. So like I guess when I enjoyed watching sports the most would have been 2013 to like 2017, 18 would
Fair
be like
enough.
my prime of sports.
Yeah, like
Mm.
I think I'm still kind of in mine. Like I just watch a shitload of sports. Um,
Yeah.
but also like what season? Like I there's this 4 month stretch that I think is the best part of like sports. Every single year it's always the best. And it's like you get into like October. It's kind of like from
Yeah.
October to like right at the beginning of February. And
Mm.
we're coming right up on the end of that because October means playoff baseball. The NFL is like fully in swing. Same for college football. In college football, you're getting close to like the college football playoff rankings starting up. If you watch basketball, that season gets started. Hockey gets started at that time. But also, European soccer gets started around then. You have the Champions League. Yeah, I think it's
Busy.
definitely like the best stretch for everybody when it comes to sports. Like if you watch football, if you watch baseball, if you watch hockey, NBA, soccer, like all of it is going on in that time frame, and we are coming to the end of it.
So were you asking me what I thought the prime
I
like
definitely
months
was,
were sports? Okay, my
but I was
bad.
just gonna let you
Yeah.
slide.
I just meant like sports in general, but no, I completely agree with you. When the leaves start changing and that air gets a little bit colder, that's really when it's time to dial
Yeah,
in.
because like when you get into like December and January, like that's time you hunker down in the house and you watch some sports.
Yeah, no, for sure, and I mean it's perfect. You kind of got like the sweater, but the still like you can get away with wearing shorts weather. Perfect time of
Yeah,
year.
that's what I was hitting
Perfect
today
time of year.
because it's actually kind of warm today because it's just been pouring rain. Um,
Yep,
Back over in this area, it's 68 degrees right now.
crazy. I swam to class today
Oh
too.
yeah,
This
same.
morning it was ridiculous.
Say my shoes
Ridiculous.
were full of water.
Does Kennesaw flood like Athens does? Like our campus
It's
just
not as
floods
bad.
and pools water so bad. It's horrible.
Yeah, so the biggest problem with Kennesaw is the parking decks get flooded. So,
Okay.
um, all of the water, like not only does it just kind of fill up in like where the cars are, but the worst part is that all of it goes into the stairwell.
Mm.
And so and it's just like, cement stairs or whatever. So every single stair is just a puddle, and then there's just a big puddle at the bottom of every flight of stairs. And
Yeah.
so I was like I was walking so carefully. It was horrible. But like
You weren't trying to swim this morning?
everything else kind of drains well.
Yeah, that's fair. No, it's everywhere. We definitely have that problem in the parking decks, but it's like, you can be walking to class and boom, you're swimming to the surface.
Yeah,
One
there was a
second
couple
later. I mean,
times
it's
where
crazy.
like I'm wearing some Ultra Boost right now. Like the bottom of the shoe was it like fully submerged.
Oh, that's you're getting close there. I was in
Yeah,
my duck boots today.
fair enough. That was probably smart. I
Yeah,
probably should have worn
I prepared.
the Gore-Tex Pegasus Trails if I was going to be a smart man, but I wasn't.
Little plug there.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no free shout out to Nike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other news before we get into everything. The Chargers have hired Jim Harbaugh as their head coach.
What a move.
Big move.
Um, I love that for them. I think you know that thing with the Chargers that we talk about where they've kind of been the same team for
Mhm.
forever, really good, but never don't have anything to show for it.
Yep.
A Harbaugh coming there is really you could see it change. I really believe that.
Definitely. I think they have the talent there. Like they already have it there. He just like they need a figurehead. They need somebody at the head of it. And I think Jim Harbaugh is the guy for that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And, as soon as Herbert starts getting more mature, which I feel like he already is a pretty mature guy,
Yeah.
it's only going to get better for them.
Yeah.
Only going to get better.
I agree. And I think, this offseason is going to be pretty big for them. I think Eckler's probably out the door. They're going to be exploring new options at running back, most likely. Um,
I've
a
heard
lot of
Michigan kid might be going to the Chargers in the
who?
draft.
Blake Corum?
Yeah,
Maybe. I don't. I'm not totally
I've
sold
heard
on
that a
him for the
lot.
NFL. Um, we'll talk about that when we talk about the draft, though, because we'll have plenty of time for draft coverage. Um, just in a couple of weeks, we'll probably start that up. But
Oh man.
nonetheless, why don't we go ahead and get into NFL Conference Championship weekend? This is
uh
it's like it's sweet and sour, like it's nice that we're almost to the Super Bowl, but it also kind of sucks that it's almost over.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And none of our teams are in it.
Yeah, that part does also suck.
Yeah, and if you're a Steelers fan, you have Taylor Swift versus the Baltimore Ravens. And
Yeah.
I mean, for Steelers fans, it's really simple. I've heard some Steelers fans that actually kind of want the Ravens to win, which I get. In a way, I get it. The Chiefs did knock us out of the playoffs, a couple of years ago. They were Ben's last game. On top of that, Taylor Swift. But if you're a Steelers fan, it's you definitely root for the Chiefs here. Our conviction is to hate Baltimore. And on the other side, it's really easy because if the 49ers win a Super Bowl, they'll tie us in wins.
Yeah.
So it's Lions all the way for Steelers fans.
Fair enough. I think let's just go ahead and kind of break down Chiefs Ravens. Right now, Baltimore a 4-point favorite. The over under 44.5. I'm still not sold on Kansas City's offense. If anything from last week showed, like Kansas City still doesn't have breakout potential. Like, it doesn't seem like this offense can just have a ridiculous performance right now. And also, Buffalo lost that game. Buffalo had so many chances to win that game, and they simply didn't. But the Chiefs didn't like outplay them, I don't think.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I think I picked the Bills over the Chiefs in this game. Obviously, that didn't happen. And I think I've kind of learned from that, Grayson. And what I've learned from that is there is just something about the Chiefs in this era of our lives and of the NFL. They're gonna hang in there. The Ravens will never be able to blow out the Chiefs because the Chiefs just have that edge to them to just stay in games. Regardless of if you think Buffalo kind of lost the game, the Chiefs were still in it.
Yeah.
And I know that Baltimore's going in here with a way better regular season than the Chiefs. You and I all season long poked holes through them all the regular season and even some in the playoffs. In all reality, Grayson, this Chiefs team can beat anybody in the league on any given day, and Baltimore is definitely not going to be able to blow them out. And I think this Chiefs offense has potential to stay in this game.
Yeah, my thing is that when you look at the body of work, the Ravens, I know they've only played one game thus far in the playoffs. They beat the shit out of a Texans team that we were very hopeful for. Um, I think a lot of people were. And, when you look at just kind of what we have, we haven't seen these two teams match up. Like when you look at the Chiefs, resume per se, you have a weird win over the over the Dolphins in that wild card game. The weather, it's
Mhm.
kind of crazy circumstances. You go into more neutral circumstances, but on the road versus the Bills in a narrow victory. Like I said, it wasn't perfect by any means. And you have like a really shoddy end to the season. that just didn't look right for this Chiefs team. And I think it's hard for me to pick against the Ravens just because I've watched them do it to multiple other teams that were like, I don't know, like they could win, and then the Ravens just beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
It's just what they've been doing all year, and the Chiefs simply haven't. I understand that the Chiefs pretty good on the road. Um, Overall, they're just a good team, and they're well coached. They're well managed. Especially on the offensive side, Patrick Mahomes doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but this Ravens defense is extremely good up front. They're going to pressure Patrick Mahomes. And I think a lot of people kind of overlook the fact that it's not that hard to make Patrick Mahomes do dumb shit. The thing is that a lot of times he can pull it off.
Yeah.
Like the Ravens need to
Yeah.
put pressure on him, but kind of in a more coordinated way. Like forcing him to throw isn't always going to work because he's just
Yeah.
going to throw to Travis Kelsey or Rashi Rice, and they're going to do something about it. Like, you really need to go into this game like understanding, okay, this is the matchup. This is who's on this side of the field. This is who's on the other side. Like, we need to be putting pressure on this end to force him to throw to that side because, you Justin Watson's lined up on that side. Like, somebody is over there, and you want him to throw to them and not Travis Kelsey. The Ravens need to go into this much more coordinated than just pressure Patrick Mahomes and try and make him make mistakes because a lot of times his mistakes turn into highlights.
Yeah, and I think a way that you could, affect Patrick Mahomes indirectly is, I mean, Pacheco, they've said it all year long. He's probably the angriest runner in the entire NFL right now.
Yeah.
Who knows what the Chiefs are going to look like when they stop him? And I think their pass rush is regardless. There will be pressure on Patrick Mahomes. You can't not stop this Ravens team from having a good pass rush. I just think what it's going to come down to is, and it's weird saying this as someone that's I guess like reporting on the game, but the Chiefs just have that stat that isn't a number. They have that edge in the NFL and over good teams. And I think the Chiefs are going to beat Baltimore, but I don't want to give a score prediction yet because I wanted to talk about Baltimore a little bit. In all seriousness, I think this game could go either way. Baltimore is the best team in the NFL. They're much better than the 49ers, I think. Um, but when it comes down to it, I really just think the Chiefs are going to keep it close. I could see maybe if Baltimore can force some turnovers, maybe a forced fumble from Roquan. He's been amazing. Or maybe an interception. Who knows? After a Chiefs turnover, what they'll look like. But
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and give a score prediction now. I'm going to take the Chiefs 28-27.
Okay. I'm going to
Yep.
take the Ravens 28-24. So
All right.
it just kind of comes down to the fact that I think the Ravens offense can produce more points right now than the Chiefs. Both defenses are good. The Chiefs have their advantages to their defense. The Ravens certainly have a ton of advantages to their defense. But both of those offenses can overpower a good defense. We saw the Ravens do it against the 49ers in the regular season. Both of these teams are capable of it. And I just trust the Ravens to put the points up on the board more. I trust them to do it efficiently and kind of in like a almost like flashy but fundamental way. The Ravens just score points. Like you have Lamar Jackson
Yeah.
running around the field doing whatever he needs, but you also have moments where you just give the ball to Gus Edwards and he just does dirty work. Like
Yeah.
they play this very mixed style of offense, and a huge testament to Todd Monken, who's done a fantastic job as their OC. They play a fantastic offense that is extremely hard to just anticipate.
Yeah, I mean, I like that what you brought up about Baltimore's run game too, because last week, if you look at it, they ran the ball 42 times, and if you take out Lamar, they ran it 31. That's still a lot of
Yeah.
carries. with Dalvin Cook being the least amount of carries and he has 8, that's insane. Like, you can definitely tell that they have a game plan there. Um, but I mean, who knows? I didn't really talk about this, and I know we already gave our score predictions, but the Chiefs have a serious defensive line too. One
Definitely.
that can definitely contain Lamar probably better than some other teams have in the NFL. Um, but then again, we've seen Lamar kind of flourish into this like also just super quarterback, like 16 for 22 completed passes to like 8 different people last week. He's amazing. We're seeing a different kind of like throwing from Lamar, and
Yeah.
I think it's a big reason why the Ravens are 13-4.
Yeah, like we kind of talked about it, going into like the later end, like right into the end of the season, that like Lamar Jackson kind of cut back the running about halfway through the season and was just passing the ball, and they were still winning games. They were still putting up points.
Yeah.
He was having the performances that are going to lead to him eventually winning the MVP in about 2 weeks. Like, he made the correct adjustments to, first of all, not get hurt. Second of all, conserve his body for the playoffs. And third, he looked fucking good. And it proved a lot of people wrong. All these people that
Hmm.
the entire time he's been the starter in Baltimore, even going into the draft, the whole conversation was like, well, this guy's not a quarterback. He's a running back.
Yeah.
He just runs the ball. He's proving everybody wrong, and he's doing it in such a absurd fashion. Because like Justin Fields, once a season, proves us wrong and throws for 300 yards. Lamar Jackson is about to win an MVP to prove people wrong. A second
Yeah.
one at that. It's definitely been fun to
And this one's a
watch.
lot better than the first one.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know about you, but like, yeah, you look at his stats. He went 16 for 22, 152, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's still a pretty good game. It's a small game yardage wise, and he didn't throw that much. But when you look at 11 carries, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns, he had 250 yards by himself and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I'll take that any damn day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous.
It definitely is.
And undisputed the best quarterback in the league
Like this season or just
this season,
okay. Okay.
I would say.
Yep. I can agree
Yeah.
with that. All right. Next game, 6:30 on Fox. Lions 49ers for the NFC Championship at Levi's Stadium. 49ers, a 7-point favorite. I I I don't know if I could say I'm surprised by 7 points.
I'm not either.
I think the
Um,
49ers are a touchdown better than the Lions.
ye- probably,
Yep. Well, other
probably.
things going into this game, your honorary captains, two fantastic choices. It literally cannot be better than these. The Lions, their honorary captain, Barry Sanders.
Oh yeah.
The 49ers, Joe Montana. You
Wow.
can't beat that.
No. I mean, that's what, like, their 2 best players in their franchise history.
Definitely. I
Would
guess
you
Jerry
Jerry Rice or
Rice.
Joe
Yeah,
Montana?
I'd probably go Jerry Rice.
I probably would go Jerry Rice too.
But
But still,
yeah,
if
Joe
there's a number
Montana's
2, it's
not
Joe.
bad. Yeah, best quarterback for sure.
Yeah.
Him and then Colin Kaepernick, right?
Yeah, technically.
Theoretically,
Not
he
Steve
could
Young.
be. Yeah, no, definitely not
Colin
Steve
Kaepernick.
Young. Fucking lefty.
Mm-mm.
Well, Colin Kaepernick might be a lefty. I can't remember. It doesn't
I don't
matter.
think he is.
So you look at the quarterback matchup. I think that's the big story in this game. Who's gonna play the best at quarterback? Well, both of them were top 5 in passing yards and touchdowns in 2023. Jared Goff, 4,575 passing yards. That was second in the league, and he had 30 passing touchdowns, which was fourth. Purdy had 4,280 passing yards. That's fifth in the league, and he had 31 passing touchdowns, which was third. I think when it comes down to it, I've seen Jared Goff have bad decision-making games more than Brock Purdy. And that's all that I can stand on at the moment. Like, Jared Goff, I will give him this. He's been here before, which I guess technically Brock Purdy was here last year. Weird circumstances considering his injury in the game and all that. But like Jared Goff has taken a team to a Super Bowl before, and now he's doing it again with a fantastic group that is, so well coached and just everything else that is so amazing about this run that the Detroit Lions have been on this season. But you look at the other side and it's like, okay, well, the 49ers have the exact same thing. They have a good quarterback that's a fantastic leader. They have this, great coaching staff and culture around this team and everything else involved. And they also have the best players in the NFL at multiple positions.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the big thing to me is like, yeah, the Lions are fantastic. They have a great running game. The 49ers literally have an MVP candidate at running back and probably the offensive player of the year. Look at wide receiver. Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown, probably the third best wide receiver in the NFL this year. He was the wide receiver number 3 on the All-Pro first team. Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel are unbelievable. Brandon Ayuk had 1,342 yards this season, and the ball also went to George Kittle and Deebo and everybody else plenty. like
Yeah.
like Brandon Ayuk had about 150 less receiving yards than Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he had like 40 less receptions. That's pretty great
Yeah.
for Ayuk. And just like going down the list, yeah, you can just keep comparing players on paper. What it comes down to is how these teams play on the field every single week as a team, and I simply just think the 49ers are better.
Yeah, I would unfortunately have to go there too, although I want the Lions to win. I think a case scenario where the Lions win is when Jared Goff doesn't throw the ball 43 times like he
Yeah.
did last week against the Buccaneers. Yeah, Jameer Gibbs, he had a lot of yards for 9 carries, 74 and a touchdown, but his longest was 31. If you take away that run, they were, I would say, kept mostly ineffective in that game. And I think a chance where they win is one of those games where the Lions are firing at all cylinders and David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs are just killing. And then you have Amon-Ra St. Brown just running the play action game with Jared Goff. You also need Jared Goff to not throw an interception. If he throws one pick, they lost the game.
Yeah.
Probably. I think it's that close. And Jared Goff and Brock Purdy, I would say, are similar. Maybe Jared Goff has more of like a kind of like he did last week, like a high yardage, high amount of throws. Brock Purdy doesn't do that often. He's usually
Yeah.
low amount of throws, low amount of completions, but still a decent amount of touchdowns. So I think he's more likely to throw a pick than Purdy. Goff is. And if that happens, they're going to get themselves in trouble. But if Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery are, if they're going, the Lions have a chance. But overall, I'm with you. The 49ers have a much better team.
Yeah, I just think that, I really like what you said about how Jared Goff, if he throws the ball too much, they're probably not going to play well just because he is prone to turning the ball over. That's what
Yeah.
happens when he throws too many passes in a game, and that's going to happen to most quarterbacks if you're throwing that like high volume of a game. But for Brock Purdy's side, it's like he can rely on Christian McCaffrey to get them first downs, which not a lot of quarterbacks can. Like, not a lot of quarterbacks can rely on one player kind of just getting, 2 plays for a first down just about every time. And Brock Purdy
Yeah.
has that luxury and he uses it well. And that's why he only has to throw, max 35 passes in a game, and he barely ever touches that.
Yeah. Exactly. And I don't know if you could really say that the Lions have dealt with the team in the regular season or even in the playoffs that have this much power offensively
Yeah.
with Brock Purdy at quarterback. Yeah, he's not flashy, but he's still a superstar. He plays so well. You have McCaffrey, like you said, he's a dog. Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, and Debo Samuel in the receiving game. I added McCaffrey back to it. It's going to be hard. I don't know if the Lions really have it all defensively to be able to stop even half of those guys because
Yeah.
it's just hard. That's no disrespect to the Lions. I mean, I guess you could send out Kirby Joseph to, go for more knees or whatever because he's a pretty dirty player. You could try to get someone hurt, but that's really like that's the only thing you can do to this offense, and it's going to be really really tough for the Lions. Really really tough.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And like if we look back at, who they've played this season and who they struggled against, like yes, they beat the Chiefs week 1. I think this is a very different team after those first 2 weeks of the season. They got the win over the Chiefs. It was a close one, and then you lose to the Seahawks. I think it was in overtime. That was a weird game. After that, they get rolling and they hit the wall that is the Ravens. And they lost 38-6, and Jared Goff had an atrocious game, and he threw 53 passes in that game for no
Yeah.
touchdowns. Like those are the kind of games that you want to avoid if you're the Lions, and especially if you're Jared Goff, but even looking at teams that aren't nearly as good as the 49ers. That 28-13 loss to the Bears was embarrassing for Jared Goff. He had 2 interceptions in
Yeah.
that game, and he lost a fumble, and he only threw 35 passes in that one. I think it's just a matter of the Lions' defense cannot let the 49ers stay on the field because the 49ers do so well at controlling the possession that when the Lions finally get on the field, I think you're gonna feel the need to rush Jared Goff, and you're gonna feel the need to rush this offense into scoring points that they probably shouldn't be rushed into.
Yeah. But, then again, I do want to bring up the divisional NFC divisional game, the 49ers and the Packers this year. I mean, Jordan Love turned the ball over twice, and I know it was one that ended up sealing the game. It was at the end, but the Packers kept it probably a lot closer than they should have. Especially you look at Aaron Jones, 108 yards, but his longest was 53 on 18
Yeah.
carries. So maybe if the 49ers kind of play like that, the Lions will have a better chance. I don't know about you, but I feel like the Lions would capitalize over a 49ers team from the divisional round more than the Packers could. Like the Lions are more capable of that. So I don't know. Who knows? The 49er, that divisional game was just weird. All in all, just
Yeah,
very, very strange game. But
definitely was. Let's go ahead and
I
do
don't know.
final
Like,
scores.
okay, dude.
What are you thinking? Do you have one in
I'm gonna
mind?
go. I want to preface. I think this game can go either way. I definitely think there's a chance the Lions win. I'm gonna go 31-17 49ers.
Whew. Okay. Yeah, I think Jared Goff might choke this week. Um, I just think that the pressure that the 49ers can send at him, especially knowing how bad he is sometimes, when he's getting pressured, um, I think that's a huge X factor. I'm going to go 49ers 27, Lions 14.
Okay.
All right. Well, those are the 2 games this weekend. There's not really all that much else to talk about. Like I know there's a bunch of head coaching stuff. Me and Colin have been kind of covering that on Monday episodes, so that's not too big of a deal. Next week is the Pro Bowl. I don't really know what we're gonna talk about
Yay.
for the Pro Bowl. It was whatever the fuck we talked about last year. I just remember being a shit show. Um, like I think we talked about like what would be a good dodgeball
Dodgeball.
team.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't even know if we'll talk about the Pro Bowl. Actually,
Hey,
you know
you know
what?
what? If they're
Next
gonna
week,
if they're gonna give us shitty content to talk about, then we're gonna make shitty content trying to talk
possibly.
about
Um,
it.
Next week we'll definitely be doing our NFL awards predictions for sure because all the
That is
finalists are kind of
always
coming out
fun.
right now. Because that, yeah. So yeah, the NFL awards is on the 8th. So yeah, we'll do
Okay.
we'll do it on the first or the second, I guess, next week.
So is that's the Friday before the Super Bowl? I think
The
is the
NFL
8th, right?
awards, yeah,
Or the Thursday or something.
yeah, Thursday. Yeah, it's on
Okay.
Thursday, so I want to make sure the predictions are out, before the awards happen.
Yeah,
So yeah, I guess
definitely.
you'll be hearing our NFL awards predictions next week. But for now, let's switch it over to baseball. Let's go ahead and
Ooh.
conclude our fielders. Um, we've gone through the infield. Now our final list from the outfield in right field, our top fives. So, okay, I made an exception for Luke. We're just going to preface with this. I made an exception for Luke for a player that did not play at least 60 games in right field. I still followed the 60 game protocol, so I did not include that player in my list. And then we also both agreed not to include Corbin Carroll because he technically works, but we already both put him in our left fielder list. So we'll
Yep.
preface with that. And you know what? I'm going to start with number 5. I keep letting you start
Okay, and
every single time.
I would like to say before you start that when I was begging Grayson to allow me to put this player in my list, my player was at 54 games at right field, so only 6 games.
No, yeah,
It's
like it's not
not
crazy.
a big stretch. Yeah. Hmm.
All right. Well, I'm going to start with my number 5, which is Adolis Garcia of the Texas Rangers. Guy
Oh
had
man.
a breakout season. If you look at like the percentage numbers and you really ride off of that, you probably aren't too happy. A 245 batting average is atrocious. Um, but he has so many other redeeming numbers. A 508 slugging percentage is great. He had 107 RBIs, 108 runs accounted for, or runs scored, 39 home runs. His baseball savant page is a beauty, something I'm
Yeah.
fond of looking at for sure. Um, like when we look at the percentiles, batting run value, 96th percentile, fielding run value, 88th percentile. You've got a barrel percentage of 96 in the 96th percentile, a hard hit percentage in the 92nd percentile. The fielding is actually is surprisingly good. He doesn't
Yeah.
have the best range, only in the 82nd percentile, but arm value in the 98th percentile and 95th percentile arm strength. Adolis Garcia was genuinely ridiculous this season and put up, a career year and an OPS at 836 compared to his last 2 years, which were 756 and 740. Before that is an incredible improvement for him. So, yeah, Adolis Garcia came in at number 5 for me.
Yeah, I mean, he literally murdered all of his career averages, even though it's not a long, really has he been around for a while?
No,
I
it's
mean, he
only the
is
third
30 years
year.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say. So, like you said, 2023 definitely a breakout year. He was my number 5 as well. There's really I don't have much else to bring up. You kind of covered it all. Did you talk about slugging?
Yeah, 508.
Yeah, I literally have nothing to add. Almost 40 home runs, 110 RBI. You already went through the arm value and the fielding from Baseball Savant. So yeah, he was absolutely fantastic. A big reason why the Rangers were able to survive this season. Did a
Yeah,
lot more than just survive, but
definitely. They won a
he
World
was
Series.
fantastic. I wish he stayed. I wish he stayed healthy the whole time too.
Yeah.
Because what's crazy is he wasn't even he didn't play like a full season at all.
He played 148.
Okay, so mostly a full season, but he did get hurt whenever it was starting to matter the most, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Right there at the
Yeah, he
end.
missed some time there at the end.
But yeah, he was my number 5 too, which leads me to believe that once we get to honorable mentions, you and I probably looked at the same guy for this number 5 spot because there was another guy that was super close to
Well,
Adolis
possibly,
Garcia.
considering you have a guy on your list that I chose not to use. Um, so my number 4
Yeah.
is Fernando Tatis Jr. Um,
Okay.
I
That
think
would be him.
that his defense was the shining star of his season. Like I I, I talked a lot of shit about Fernando Tatis moving to right field and people being like, "Oh, he's already a great right fielder," because we had not seen him play much right field up to this point. I I don't know what to, I guess I'm sorry. I don't know what the proper thing to say is, but to see a guy like Fernando Tatis who was abysmal, absolutely fucking horrible at shortstop. Move to right field and be this good this fast is insane. 94th percentile range on Baseball Savant, 94th percentile arm strength and arm value and 99th percentile arm strength. The batting wasn't amazing this season, but he's still up there in expected slugging in the 91st percentile, 90th percentile in hard hit percentage, um 89th percentile in average exit velo. Like he is still a fantastic player, but this season the defense really showed. And like he had a Fangraphs defensive statistic at 9.2, but the percentages weren't great. A 448 slugging's not fantastic. A 257 average isn't great. Um, but the strikeouts aren't as high as they have been in the past. The 22% certainly isn't great, but they were much lower than they have been in the past. He stole 29 bases. He had 91 runs scored, 25 homers in a bit of a shortened season because he missed time at the beginning of the year. Like, this was the Fernando Tatis that people were kind of hoping to see, and I think it's just going to get better. Like, this is not the best offensive version of Fernando Tatis, but I think it's certainly one that um, you know, has earned the respect he deserves when it comes to how good of a baseball player he really is.
And he's only 25 years old. On top of all that, like I feel like it's really unique to look at him and everything that he's been through in his short time in the MLB. And
Yeah.
in 2023, he still was able to come back and switch positions and be probably one of the best, if not like probably top three, top two, would you say? Fielding right fielders?
Yeah, I think he might have been the best, which is
Yeah,
insane to
he's
say.
it's incredible. He was my honorable mention only because I valued Adolis Garcia's better batting statistics and almost just as good fielding. Well, I don't know if you could really say almost, but the arm value and arm strength were there for Adolis Garcia, just not the range.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's where I kind of put Adolis Garcia at 5, and Fernando Tatis was my honorable mention. But um, now I'm going to go to my number 4. I chose Kyle Tucker my number 4. 284 batting average, 369 OBP, 517 slugging, 886 OPS. I mean, he was just incredible for the Astros this year. 29 home runs, 112 RBI, which is just ridiculous, and still 30 stolen bases. He's kind of one of those players that they have that they're still going to be in good hands once those guys that have been there kind of flushed out, like Altuve.
Yeah.
Kyle Tucker is a dog and a pretty decent defender at that as well. So he made my number 4.
Yeah, he doesn't play the worst defense. It's not fantastic, but he's definitely like average. He's not bad at defense,
Yeah.
but yeah, he actually came in at my number 3. So I'll just go ahead and kind of segue into that. Yeah, he was amazing. 11.9% walk percentage is fantastic. His strikeout percentage only at 13.6%. He was getting on base at 369, slugging 517. The 112 RBIs is insane. Like that is
Yeah.
crazy to see from him, and like 97 runs scored. He stole 30 bases, which I don't think a lot of people talk about with Kyle Tucker. He is very, very smart on the base paths. He does not get caught a lot, but he steals quite a lot and is very good at it. So I really liked Kyle Tucker's season. Um, obviously he could have been better. Like there were points where like people were talking about him for like MVP last season and this past season, but still a fantastic player. 95th percentile in expected WOBA, expected batting average 94th percentile, 93rd percentile in expected slugging. He's not like a hard hit guy. He's not a barrel up guy, but 94th percentile in strikeout percentage is crazy. That's the glaring statistic, and a lot of that to do with the fact that he doesn't chase. 86th percentile in chase percentage, 86th percentile in whiff percentage. This is just a pure hitter through and through, and he has, first of all, a beautiful lefty swing, but also an amazing eye at the plate.
Yeah. I liked that. My number three is the elephant in the room, the player of Hot Topic. Only played 54 games at right field. Aaron Judge, and he only played 54 games is really because Dodger Stadium is just not a safe ballpark to play at if you're in right field.
You mean Yankee Stadium?
Just ask Aaron Judge. He got hurt in Dodger
Oh,
Stadium.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, his big
Forgot
toe
about
on
that.
that weird concrete lip out there for
Yeah.
fielders to die. So, um, real honestly, just incredible for the short time that Aaron Judge did play this season. 267 batting average, 406 OBP, 613 slugging, and a 1.019 OPS, which is incredibly high. It's the highest on my list. He has the highest slugging on my list. 37 home runs and 75 RBI and like I think close to 70 games is ridiculous. He had the second highest arm strength and value on my list. I believe. It may have been my number one that I think has all the other stats. But I'm just gonna run through kind of the same stats that Grayson did. Expected WOBA, 100th percentile. Expected slugging, 100th percentile. Average exit velocity, barrel rate, and hard hit percentage, all also in the 100th percentile, on top of walk rate, which offsets his horrible whiff rate and horrible K rate. But, he's walking a lot at least. So, yeah, Aaron Judge, I just really wanted to put him on this list. Obviously biased, but he still deserves his flowers. He was really just incredible this season
Yeah.
when he was on the field.
Yeah, he was fantastic, but like personally, like it wasn't just like the 54 games played. It was mainly the fact that he only played like just over 100 games. So like his numbers don't line up right with everybody else. Um, so I wasn't going to put him in just because he didn't have a qualified, batting statistics and everything. But I think it's a great pick. If he had played more and had, similar stats, he'd have probably come in at 3 for me. But my number two is pretty obvious. It's Mookie Betts, of course. I think he's fully making the switch back to second base this next season. So, it gives somebody an
Wow.
opportunity to jump up to two. But it's hard to say there's been a better bat in the MLB over the last 10 years since this guy came up. Like he's been phenomenal. He's done it everywhere. And the batting, it's all the bat. His defense really isn't that good. A fielding run value on Baseball Savant at 27th percentile, and a range of 15 is bad. And that's kind of combined because he played a decent amount of infield as well this season, but it's really the batting. You know, it's all red. That's all I have to say. I'm not even going to go through and read all of them,
Yeah.
but like sweet spot percentage, 98th percentile is amazing. And that just means that when the ball is coming through in in kind of the middle of the zone and he swings, he's hitting it. His chase percentage, a 99. That means he is literally just not chasing bad pitches. Like it is amazing to just look at that list and see what he is so fucking good at, because there's not a lot of players you're going to see that consistent of numbers all the way down the list for. And kind of just to get into the percentages from this season, 307 batting average is phenomenal. 408 on base probably could be higher, considering his batting average. But he does strike out a decent amount. A 15.4% isn't horrible at all. It's actually very good, but some guys do it better. But 579 slugging, he had 107 RBIs. He scored 126 runs, which is phenomenal. And he hit 39 homers, which is also phenomenal. The defense definitely, hurts him a little bit just because he doesn't have the range. But, at 8.3 F4 this season, he was fantastic, just not number one.
I was about to say 8.3 WAR for Mookie Betts, and there's still somebody better.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, like I said, you went through everything that I was going to go through. He's in the 82nd percentile of barrel rate, and that's his lowest batting percentile. Is an 82nd percentile in barrel percentage. That is crazy. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think though, I honestly don't know what I would think if Aaron Judge logged the full season, though. I think Aaron Judge has a case for two here. Even with Mookie Betts looking like that, the fielding is where I would make that separation, I
Hmm.
think. And Aaron Judge would have probably scored more than Mookie Betts, like more home runs, more RBI.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's something that we could debate there, but don't want to take anything away from Mookie. Absolutely fantastic. So he was also my number two as well.
Number one's very obvious now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Ronald Acuna, a 100 batting run value this season on Baseball Savant. That kind of tells you the story. We could talk about the fielding. His range sucks. I think that's also just from the ACL injury. Um,
Oh yeah,
that's
ACL hurts.
that's
Can't,
definitely
mhm.
slowed him down in the outfield. But also, it's the fact that Michael Harris can essentially cover his entire spot in right field from center field. Um, so like it doesn't really matter all that much, but like you definitely see the decline happen starting with that, post 2021 because like back in 2020, 73rd percentile in range and in his rookie
Mm,
year in 2018, 83rd percentile in range. But this season,
wow.
it's all about the arm value and the arm strength on the defensive side. 96th percentile arm value, 98th percentile arm strength, and the guy mashed. He had it's insane to even say that he had 41 home runs and 73 stolen bases. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Like, that is an absurd number for anybody, honestly, in any statistic.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Really.
And he also scored 149 runs. And considering he was the leadoff batter, to have 106 RBIs is phenomenal, but also scoring 149 runs is just a testament to how well he got on base. 416 on base percentage. He batted 337. That's like, this was like, past year has been kind of the revival of guys just having high batting averages and like it being normal. Like, there'd be guys that would lead the league in batting average with like a 315. And Ronald Acuna, I think, was third or fourth in the league in batting average with a 337.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm glad it's coming back because I want to see guys on base. He had a slugging of 596. Um, Fangraph's base running statistic, base running runs above average, whatever, was a 7.6. He had an 8.3 F4, a 71.7 um, offense statistic by Fangraphs. That is an absurd number because, like, there's been lists that we have done throughout this where the highest guy on that, in that statistic on our list is about a 25 or a 30.
Damn.
And three guys on this list are above that mark.
Yeah.
It's pretty absurd. Um, but yeah, it's obviously Ronald Acuna. He's the guy.
Yeah. Is this the best season a Brave has ever had?
Uh I don't know. Um, Hank Aaron definitely had some seasons where like the extra base hits were insane. And Chipper Jones certainly had his seasons that were just insane as well. Like, he was, I think, a one-time MVP, but often-time finalist. Um, like, yeah, Chipper Jones MVP year. Um, he had 45 home runs, 110 RBIs, 25 stolen bases, 100. He got walked 126 times. He batted 319. His slugging percentage was a 633, um, which
Damn.
is a big help to the extra base hits. Yeah, he had 41 doubles and the 45 home runs, which certainly got him quite a few extra base hits. Um, yeah, that was an insane season. I don't know. It's certainly arguable though. Um, you could definitely make an argument. I'm surprised Chipper stole 25 bases that year. It's pretty good.
Dang.
Um, Nonetheless, it definitely ranks amongst the best
Yeah.
for sure.
I yeah. Kind of been a broken record here, but once again, nothing to add. Of course, this is Grayson's favorite team. with the best player on that favorite team, so he kind of laid it all out. I just would like to add, I was very happy to see him play this season.
Yeah.
Very cool to watch an MVP play in person. Yeah, that's all I got. Ronald Acuna, undisputed number one, not even close.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's crazy because there is so much talent at this position.
Yeah. I
It
do
it
think there was
was
like
not
a
close.
significant drop off after like the top 5 or 6.
Yeah,
I feel like because like going down the list by F4, it's like you have Acuna, Mookie Betts, obviously Corbin Carroll, Aaron Judge get into that conversation, and then Kyle Tucker, Adolis Garcia, Tatis. After that, it's not great. Um,
yeah,
we'll go by qualified, you uh, plate appearances, and like it goes from Tatis to Lars Nootbaar, and Seiya Suzuki, Lane Thomas, Anthony Santander, George Springer. Like
Josh
it's not
Lowe,
great.
Josh Lowe.
I don't know if he had a qualified plate appearances, but he's
No,
definitely up there as well. Yeah, Josh Lowe had a good year. Nolan Jones for Colorado, very good year. But like, yeah, a lot of these guys, like, there is quite the drop off, I'd say.
yeah, that is fair.
All right. Well, I think that's kind of it. Any other honorable mentions you want to bring up? I heard you say Josh Lowe, but
No, I mean Tatis was the only one.
yeah,
I really think if he would have hit more home runs, which it's weird because his hard hitting batting stats were all really high
yeah,
percentiles on Baseball Savant. Only 25 home runs to show for it. I mean, maybe that's a ballpark thing.
kind of.
But if he would have hit more home runs, I definitely would have had him at least at number five. Yeah, I mean, at least at number five, maybe jumping over Kyle Tucker at four. Who knows? But he definitely would have been better than Adolis Garcia, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. Um, yeah, I think with Tatis, like he hits the shit out of the ball, but he has a very level swing. I think that's a big part of it is just putting the ball in the gap a lot. Um,
Yeah,
so let's switch it up a little bit. We'll stick with baseball and we'll talk about this year's 2024 Baseball Hall of Fame class. Um, this is a big one for sure. This ballot was loaded. Some fantastic first year guys on this ballot. Just overall, a lot of great guys on this ballot. But your 3 guys that get voted in are Adrian Beltre on his first ballot with 95.1% of voters voting him in. And then you have Todd Helton on his 6th ballot, and he got 79.7% of the vote, or was on 79.7% of ballots. And then Joe Mauer on his first ballot got 76.1% of votes. So, yeah, all 3 of these guys certainly Hall of Famers. Todd Helton was quite a waiting time. I feel like for a long time he should have been in there. But, it took a little bit of time for him to get there, and now he is, which is fantastic. Um, Super happy to see him in there. Obviously, Beltre is the guy when it came to this class. 95% is not easy to get. That's pretty damn close to unanimous. It's something that
yeah,
only Mariano Rivera has done. I think to this day, the only unanimous.
yeah. Because Jeter was one away,
Yeah, he was one
I
away.
think.
I'm sure it was a Boston guy. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, Beltre. I think I will just kind of talk about these guys' careers. Like Adrian Beltre, one accomplished fucking player. Um, Considering I don't think he ever won a World Series, um, which is a common thing. In football and basketball, we oftentimes talk about a guy's legacy, and it's like, well, he didn't get that ring. It doesn't make him one
yeah,
of the best ever. There's quite a few MLB guys that are the best ever and never won a ring. I think Adrian Beltre is certainly in that conversation. because the guy is insane. He's well into the 3,000 hit club with 3,166, well into the 400 homers with 477. He had a career batting average of 286, a career slugging percentage of 480, OPS plus at 116 for his career. Um, you go down the list. His time in LA as a young player, his final season in LA, runner up in the MVP voting and a Silver Slugger, led the league with 48 home runs that season. And then
Mm.
he just kind of keeps going. And then in Seattle, after LA, he was once again a fantastic player, but his glove really showed out in Seattle. 2 years in Seattle, back to back, 2007, 2008, a gold glove. And then he gets to Boston for a year. He was fantastic, makes another move, goes to Texas, and that's where it all blew up. That's where it happened for sure. This guy was fantastic. He was a MVP runner-up. Didn't make an All-Star game until 2010 when he got to Boston. 2011, he gets to the Rangers. He's an All-Star again. He's top 15 in MVP voting. He's a Gold Glover and a Silver Slugger. 2012, the season after, All-Star, third in the MVP and a Gold Glover. The next season, doesn't make the All-Star game, turns it around so well in the second half. He's seventh in MVP voting. This guy's finished seventh in MVP voting 3 times. Exactly seventh.
Wow.
Never won an MVP. He was second, third. He was seventh 3 times. He was ninth. He was 15th twice. Never won one. But the guy is just as accomplished as it comes when it looks at just truly a player playing so well, especially when you think about it. Like his prime started at 31 and didn't end until about 37.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, typically like your prime's going, yeah, from 26, 27 to like 32.
Yeah.
And he ended up playing till he was 39, but he was a guy that definitely could have kept playing. Like he was putting up some ridiculous batting averages late in his career. Like, he was consistently over 300. Like 2016, 2017, both years he was over 300. And that was, well into his career. The last, or the second to last and third to last year of his career, the last season of his career, he's still batted 273. He was a
Damn.
fantastic player and just one hell of a player at the plate. Outside of even just power numbers, because obviously he was in the 3,000 hits club. So yeah, Adrian Belcher is one of my favorite players of all time.
Yeah, and even bigger than that, just kind of like what he did for the sport of baseball. Definitely a
Yeah.
guy who, it was his job. He took it seriously, but he had more fun than anybody. More like, and that's so obvious to say, right? Like, just somebody who really, really enjoyed playing the sport, playing against opponents. Like that clip of him getting struck out by King Felix is just hilarious. That's just two guys having fucking a good time. And anytime you put Elvis Andrews beside Adrian Beltre, third base and shortstop, it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah.
Just what a player. All the accolades that you said, but even more than that, just how much fun he had. Just was so good for the sport, talent wise and personality wise. He was perfect.
Yeah. And then we'll get into our second guy. It's going to be inducted in, I think, June or July. And it's Todd Helton. This guy was amazing. A full career in Colorado, which is essentially being subjected to hell for, I don't even know how long it is, 17 years. To play in Colorado for 17 years must have sucked.
Damn.
But I love Todd Helton. 5-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove, 4-time Silver Slugger. He had the batting title one season. There is a particular season in his career that, first of all, it amazes me he didn't win MVP. It's the year 2000, which was kind of like when he kind of hit his stride. He was All-Star. He was 5th in MVP, and he was a Silver Slugger. He led the league in he led the National League in hits. He led the league in doubles. He led the league in RBIs. He led the league in the entire slash line, batting average, on base percentage, slugging, and OPS. And he led the league in total bases.
He was fifth.
Yeah, fifth behind
What?
the
What?
winner, Jason Giambi, who
Oh my
the
fucking
only two
god!
stats he led the league in were walks, and he was tied with or sorry, wait, though that was the AL. Sorry, NL. The NL was Jeff Kent who won that.
Hmm.
Yeah, he didn't lead the league in a single statistic, and actually Todd Helton led the National League in WAR per Baseball Reference by over a
Oh,
point. That's
so they
crazy.
admitted that he was the best player.
Yeah, he got
Or
one
Baseball
first
Reference
place. He
did.
got one first place vote. That's insane.
Were the other guys on that list like pitchers or something?
No, the four guys ahead of him, all hitters. Jeff Kent, Barry Bonds, Mike Piazza, and Jim Edmonds, who all had good seasons, for sure. Not as good as that Todd Helton season.
Wow, that's incredible.
Like, Barry didn't even lead in home runs that year. Sammy Sosa did.
Wow.
And Sammy Sosa was ninth.
Damn.
Yeah, I think
Maybe we should decide
it's
all
egregious
these all
that
the
Todd Helton did
yeah.
not win the 2000 MVP. Nonetheless, the guy was a finalist multiple other times, or not a finalist, but high up in the voting multiple other times. And like we said, multiple time Gold Glove, multiple time Silver Slugger, and he was doing it in one of the worst franchises in the history of the game. But career numbers wise, the guy was a monster, especially when you look at the percentages. On base percentage of 414 for an entire career is insane. Guys don't even do that in the league right now over a season.
Hmm.
And like this guy had his best on base percentage season wasn't even that 2000 season. It was 2004 where he had a 469 on base percentage. That's almost
Wow.
50% of the time he steps up to the plate, he gets on base. It's
Damn.
it's absurd. And an OPS of 953 for his career, an OPS plus of 133. He's genuinely amazing. And definitely was not getting the respect he deserved. And I think part of that comes from there was definitely like a bit of a drop off at the end of his career. Um, but like it wasn't crazy. Near the end, he still had a season where he played 124 games, batted 302. He just
Damn.
wasn't quite putting up the numbers that people wanted. So he wasn't getting the respect he deserved. But yeah, Todd Helton's a guy that I think got underrated for a long time, especially when you kind of look at the past and just look at honestly historically first baseman. He got underrated. So yeah, Todd Helton certainly deserves his spot in Cooperstown, and he's earned it.
Yeah, I love that. I'm sure a lot of that kind of like not giving him his flowers definitely comes from the franchise he was in at the time too. Probably weren't
Definitely.
winning many games despite how good he was playing. Not a player that I'm honestly really that familiar with, except for I know he was sick in an MLB game that I played. I can't remember which one it was though. When did he retire?
Todd Helton retired in 2013, I believe. Yeah.
Maybe it was maybe it was '09 the show with Ryan Howard on the cover is whenever I first encountered Todd Helton.
He had a pretty good season, 2009. He was 13th in
Yeah.
MVP voting and batted 325.
Yeah, it probably was that or that show then.
Yeah, very good player. And then the final one's Joe Mauer, which I think I've talked about on this podcast before. Somehow I just kind of missed Joe Mauer's career, and I don't know how because I was certainly present for Adrian Beltre's, which I believe lasted longer, or it started earlier. Like Joe Mauer
Yeah.
and Adrian Beltre both retired after 2018. And somehow I just kind of missed the greatness that was Joe Mauer. But this guy was insane. I've obviously done my research, but a one-time MVP, a six-time All-Star, a three-time Gold Glover, five-time Silver Slugger, and a three-time batting title recipient. Like this guy had some of the most insane stats ever, and like he wasn't a power hitter. His best home run season was 28. He had 143 in his career. He played 15 seasons. His career batting average was a 306, career slugging 439, OPS 827. The guy was fantastic behind the plate, one of the best defensive catchers ever. But that season he won MVP, good God, did he fucking deserve it. A 365 batting average, a 444 on base percentage, a 587 slugging, a 1.031 OPS, and a 171 OPS plus. That led the National League in all of those and led the league in batting average and on base percentage.
Jesus.
Yeah, I don't understand how I kind of missed the greatness of Joe Mauer. I, I'll never understand why I missed it. Uh, but yeah, I'm kind of I'm glad I've gone back and looked because he is one of the best ever. Holy shit!
Yeah, he was
Hold on. So I'm sorry. Breaking news: the Falcons are
okay.
nearing a
Oh
deal
no.
to make Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris their new head coach. What a
You thought you
fucking
guys were gonna get
curveball!
Bill Belichick.
What a fucking curveball!
Oh
I
man.
I don't know. I have no. I don't know. I don't have an opinion yet. He knows the franchise. That's it. I'll talk about it on
All
Monday's
right.
episode when I've let it sink in.
All right. Well, yeah, Joe Mauer was actually definitely one of my favorite players growing up. Of course, back then I didn't know a lot about baseball, but I always liked Joe Mauer.
Yeah.
You know, a Minnesota guy through and through. I don't even think he went to college. He's from St. Paul. I know that. Um, and yeah, spent his whole career with the Twins. I remember. I don't know if he always was also a first baseman, but I remember at the end of his career he played a lot of first
Yeah,
base
he
instead
did.
of catcher. Um, which was cool to see him, get moved around. But yeah, I always when I think of Joe Mauer, I think of that play where the he missed a wild pitch or something like that, and it hit the backstop behind him,
Oh
and
yeah.
he just like fielded
Yeah.
that shit without even look. Oh, dude, that is exactly that's just a Joe Mauer play. Only him and Buster Posey could do that.
Agree.
Maybe Yadier Molina,
Yeah,
but
Yadier could.
yeah, Joe Mauer, absolutely solid. Love that he's in the Hall of Fame. Definitely deserves it.
Yeah, I'm very happy with those guys. Still need Andrew Jones in the Hall of Fame. Don't know what we're waiting on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to see like all the percentages of the rest of the ballots because I think so far they've only released the guys that won. Um, I'm gonna have to look at the rest of that, see the numbers, see who's gonna stay on. I know we've got a solid
Yeah.
class of guys coming in next year for it though. That are gonna be interesting to see like how people view um their legacies because believe I think Ichiro's on there. Um,
Oh,
he's on the ballot next year. I think Bartolo Colon might be on the ballot next year.
yeah.
Whole lot of guys that I'm excited to see the public opinion on. Because obviously Ichiro's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Um, but there's few guys that have some questionable legacies that'll be on that ballot.
Yeah. Well, I think an elephant in the room for 2024, like looking at the percentages, is A-Rod at 34, which
Yeah.
obviously I understand there's reasons for that, but
Yeah, when you
still
get caught,
ridiculous
that's the problem.
stats. Yeah. Even lower than Carlos Beltran.
Yeah,
Ouch. That stings.
that does suck.
But Billy Wagner only missed it by 9 votes. I feel like that's worth
He's
mentioning.
got to get
That's
in,
so
man. It's
close.
crazy. It's honestly
Yeah.
ridiculous that he's not.
Yeah, but there's also some guys on this list that I remember, like Jimmy Rollins. What a name there.
Yeah.
Andy Pettit, Torrey Hunter, David Wright was actually the caboose of this list. Thought he would be higher, personally. I feel like a lot of people view David Wright as one of those kind of like heroic baseball players.
Kind of. Obviously I'm a little biased. Not a big Mets fan.
Yeah.
I just I think he had a little bit of an underwhelming career. Like he played 14 seasons, which like isn't that bad. But like his last 3 seasons in the league, he didn't even break 40 games. Um
Mm,
and like he just kind of didn't have like the best years. And then just kind of abruptly retired. So
yeah.
I think it's just a matter of sample size. Like, his prime was amazing, and his prime honestly started his second year in the league. which is crazy. Like at age 22, and then kind of like didn't even end until 2013. He was very
Damn.
good, but it just seems like the public opinion is that he didn't do enough in his time.
Yeah, which is fair.
Yeah,
Definitely
yeah.
fair.
Yeah, a lot of the returning guys are interesting. I think Andy Pettit is certainly a guy that needs to be mentioned more. Francisco Rodriguez, it's crazy to me he only got 7.8% of the votes. One of the best closers ever. Um, Kind of the same goes for Billy Wagner, but next year, CeCe is going to be on that ballot. Dustin
Ooh.
Pedroia is going to be on that ballot.
Wow.
Fucking King Felix is going to be on that ballot. He's a guy that's
Oh
got to get
man.
in. But like you have a lot of fringe names. You got guys like Troy Tulowitzki and Curtis Granderson, Hanley Ramirez, Ian Kinsler, another guy that's just kind of
Yeah.
like right there on the edge. Maybe he could be a Hall of Famer. Maybe he won't be. A lot of these guys are going to be
Yep.
like the guys that if they do get it, it'll be like seventh year on the ballot, and there's not a lot of guys that are contending.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to Tulowitzki, just don't look at the pinstripe era, the very short pinstripe era. Just pay attention to the Rockies.
Yeah, that's fair. That was only 1 year though, and he only played 5
Yeah.
games.
Was it really only 5 games?
Yeah, yeah,
I remember it being like kind of a big deal to me because Tulowitzki was another guy that I remember from the really old video games that I would play when I was younger, and I was
yeah,
like, oh shit, like my team got him as an older guy. It's the typical Yankee signing of
yeah,
like a Jacoby Ellsbury, somebody that's a legend, kinda, but
yeah.
won't do anything for your team
I,
now.
I think to me, Troy Tulowitzki falls into the exact same thing as David Wright, where it's like his prime was phenomenal for sure.
Yeah.
And then he gets traded to Toronto and plays there for 3 years and is just so underwhelming, and then goes to New York and plays 5 games and retires.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an interesting case. But yeah, a lot of guys to look forward to next year on the ballot. Brian McCann will get his first chance on the ballot. Very excited for that. I'm sure he won't make it, but very excited to see Brian McCann on there.
I'm a big major
Yeah,
Brian McCann
one of my
guy.
favorite players ever.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and let's go over to talk about soccer. So, weird week. We kind of discussed it last week when we accidentally broke down games that won't be happening till next week. That one's on me. I'll take the blame for that. But there is no Premier League games this weekend. Um, there is, in fact, uh, or there was Carabao Cup or EFL Cup matches in the middle of the week, and there's FA Cup matches this weekend. Some big teams playing in the FA Cup, and then we'll go ahead and just kind of. I know you have some notes for the Carabao Cup or EFL Cup, whatever the hell you want to call it. So we'll start there. Yeah, Chelsea 6, Middlesbrough 1. Chelsea advanced 6-2 on aggregate.
Yeah. My notes were for the FA Cup when I
Oh,
texted you
okay.
last
Never
night.
mind.
But I wanted to go into this game a little bit more whenever we talked about Chelsea versus Aston Villa in the FA Cup, but just kind of like a bottom baseline that we can go off of. What a performance! This is what Chelsea can look like when they are firing at all cylinders and taking their chances. Because our offense is good. It's just we just haven't had anybody to score for us. And it's exactly what we needed. Losing 1-0 it was one of those games where Chelsea fans were all going to social media and just saying how much this era of Chelsea
Yeah.
suck. And then to come out in the second leg and do this was absolutely phenomenal. I'm very proud of my team.
Yeah, it was a great performance. Notably Cole Palmer. 2 more
Yeah.
goals for that guy. Man, he has been
It's
such a
getting cold.
it is, man.
It's
Cold
getting
Palmer,
real
man.
chilly.
He has been such a blessing for Chelsea this season.
Big time. And he was the one signing where you and I were like, what?
Yeah, we
What the
we both
fuck?
thought it was kind of a weird move at the time.
Yeah. But what a player. What a player.
Yeah, definitely. And the rest of the team obviously opened up the goal scoring with an own goal by Middlesbrough, and then
Mhm.
Enzo Fernandez scores in the 29th. Disasi scores in the 36th. You have the two goals from Cole Palmer, and then Noni Madueke scores a goal, I believe off the bench. Connor Gallagher had 2 assists off the bench. Um,
Love it.
Overall, a fantastic performance by the entire team. Um, and obviously Middlesbrough's not good. They're not in the Prem
Yeah.
anymore. Um, they haven't been for a number of years now.
Yeah.
Um,
Still made it to the semifinal though
yeah,
of the
still made
EFL
it to the
Cup, which is
semifinal. And are like a middle of the pack championship team. So it's nice to see Chelsea turn it around there and get the win. Um, but the other match, Liverpool won, Fulham won, and Liverpool advanced 3-2 on aggregate. That one surprised me. And I know Fulham's pretty good, and they were playing at Craven Cottage, but you know, to kind of hold Liverpool off after giving up that goal in the 11th minute to Luis Diaz. Fulham played a great game after that. Played super well. They finally got their goal late in the game, 77th minute. They hold on. They get the draw. Unfortunately, they don't win, but this was a good performance for Fulham.
yeah, that's you literally just said exactly what my notes are once again. Liverpool pretty much fielded almost their starting 11. I think they had a center back and a right back that were just a little bit different, some guys that they were rotating in.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
Fulham, like you said, did an amazing job against a, 90% Liverpool team. Um, and yeah, I mean there's nothing more to say than they gave them a good game, really.
yeah. And considering this was, oh, sorry, this is a Mohamed
It's cool,
Salah
man.
less. Yeah, we'll say that. Mohamed Salah less
Yeah.
Liverpool side. You didn't have Alisson in goal. Um, like you said, Kwanzaa started at center back and Bradley at right back. That being Connor Bradley of Northern Ireland, the 20-year-old. Um, yeah, it wasn't a bad performance at all by either side, but Liverpool definitely showed some weakness in the attack. Darwin Núñez not play great. Kind of the same goes for Cody Gakpo. Both of them have been struggling quite a bit this season, it feels like.
Yeah, definitely not as much hype around them as there was last season for
Yeah.
sure. And one thing that I think it's fair to mention is that Liverpool, it seems that they have rotated their strikers and really everybody but Salah, the other two positions, striker and left wing, they have rotated it so many different times this
Yeah.
year and looked at it so many different ways. And it's good to change and try to adapt, but it's also a sign that your system is failing, kind of thing. Um, yeah, that would be kind of my 2 cents there
Yeah, I
on
feel like,
Liverpool's attack.
you know, Liverpool this season has kind of gotten away with not having a great striker.
Yeah,
Um,
big time.
because, if you look at like the guys that have played at striker this season, like Darwin Núñez, Gakpo has started there, Diogo Jota has started there quite a bit. None of those guys are like really strikers. I guess Darwin Núñez is, he's just not a good one. Um, it just doesn't seem like Liverpool has that good of options, and they haven't for a few years, and they've just kind of gotten away with it.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I think you kind of had the notion of the false nine set with Firmino that you didn't really
Yeah,
need a striker that could score goals, and they just have since not been able to replicate Firmino's era in that system. Which, and it could be why, if you want to look at it deeper, you have a lot of players like Salah and maybe even I've heard Klopp on his way out as well. So, maybe the owners there are kind of looking for a change in their system from,
maybe.
being a really, really good team in like 17, 18. But who knows?
Yeah,
They're still playing very well.
yeah, they are. Of course, they're top of the table, 5 points clear of second place in the Premier League right now. Um, but
More than our teams are doing right
yeah,
now.
certainly better than our teams are playing right now. Um, But yeah, I do still think there's things to improve for Liverpool here. But now
Mhm.
that sets up on February 25th, the EFL Cup final between Chelsea and Liverpool. Early prediction because for Chelsea, there's no telling who's going to be injured by February 25th. But Mo Salah will be back from AFCON by then.
Already.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll forget that's even happening.
Yeah.
A month from now, literally a month from today as we're recording.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll forget about it, but yeah, maybe we'll talk about it if we catch it. But let's talk about the FA Cup real quick. Some very good matchups this weekend, and I'm not sure if we're going to
Ooh.
see full lineups. But Chelsea versus Aston Villa on Friday. As you're listening to this, you can go watch this match on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just take it from here. So Chelsea Villa already kind of went into the win over Middlesbrough. That is what Chelsea's offense can look at. Like I said, when it is 100% firing at all cylinders, Chelsea were able to create 5 big chances, which is for that stat is really a shit ton for one game, and we only missed one of those. So very solid, very clinical there. And then on the Villa side, my notes are very short here for FA Cup. They're good, but they're short. Villa are coming off of a 0-0 draw with Everton. Basically, they just didn't really let Everton. They they let Everton have a very good game, is what I'm trying to get
Yeah.
at. Everton was able to have chances against them. Of course, with it being 0-0, Everton didn't take their chances either there, but they just let Everton in the game. Basically, that's really the only way I can put it. They just didn't play well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I caught a little bit of that match. I think it was about 2 weeks ago now, between Aston Villa and Everton. And I think Aston Villa was willing to let Everton keep possession between the midfield and the defense. Every single time it touched an attacker, it was a turnover. Literally
Yeah.
every time. Like Dominic Calvert-Lewin absolutely sucks, and I'm so tired of talking about him. He's just as bad as Richarlison was prior. And with how much deep shit Everton's in, like, first of all, it ain't getting any better. Uh,
Yeah.
we'll go ahead with that.
That
But
is for sure.
on Villa's side, like, that game was more for them, led by their defense and the strength of the defense within the midfield. Kamara and Douglas Luiz are fantastic in that midfield, and their contributions to this game kept it 0-0. But once again, we see a little bit of a decline by their attacking side, notably Ollie Watkins kind of struggling. Recently he has not been all that good. I think with Diaby, I give him a longer leash when it comes to the attacking side and like just shots because he's not traditionally like an all-out striker. He's not a goal-scoring striker. He definitely is more of a false nine, and wants to allow players to score around him. It just doesn't seem like they have goal scorers around him, so it's not quite working.
Yeah, and on top of that, if you want that false nine to work, you usually don't run a 4-4-2,
Yeah, because like it
where your
allows, I
strikers are
guess
beside
it
each other.
allows Diaby to kind of sit back and allow Leon Bailey to come up the right side past him, and they can feed passes into each other, and it gives Diaby the opportunity to hit Ollie Watkins on through balls over the top into the box. But it just like visually watching the games, it's such a low success rate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. And Aston Villa have been good this season, but that's probably, I think you and I could agree on the one thing that's kind of holding them back from being just better
Yeah.
this season is that kind of inconsistent attack there. But yeah, this is going to be a good game. I have one last stat before I give my score prediction. This one's actually about Raheem Sterling. You're gonna like this stat. Raheem Sterling has been directly involved in 19 goals in his last 20 FA Cup games that he's played in. 10 goals and 9 assists.
Not bad. I have been talking
Yeah,
about how
that's
he's
pretty
having a
solid.
great season.
He is.
Yeah.
He is,
I'm
but he's a big man for the FA Cup.
definitely. If we're looking at matchup history, Aston Villa has won the last 3 meetings. You had 2 Premier League games back to back, or not back to back, but you had the first matchup of this season, September 24th, 2023. Villa took that 1-0 back in April. 2023. Villa took it 2-0, and I know this doesn't technically count, but a club friendly during the World Cup that Aston Villa took 1-0 the last three meetings. You did beat them on October 16th, 2022 in an actual Premier League game. But I I think Chelsea's kind of like getting back. They're starting to get over the hump now. You have the goal
Uh,
scorers. I think guys are getting confident. The problem is the injuries. They literally every single time you guys start moving back up, and another injury happens, and you guys just fall right back down. And that injury every single time is Reece James. Every single time he steps on the field, he just gets hurt for another couple months.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep. Man, you're falling into the same trap that I used to. I'm I need a full season before I'm back to normal in
That's
my
fair.
way that I view Chelsea. But I'm hungry for the FA Cup, man, because our last FA Cup win was in 2018, and I'm sure you remember. But 2020, 2021, and 2022, Chelsea lost in the FA Cup final in 3 consecutive years in a row. We're the only team to ever do that in FA Cup history. So
Well, there's a record.
I am extremely hungry. Yeah, there is a record there. Not a good one, but we hold that record. But yeah, I'm hungry for this cup, man. I
Yeah.
love the FA Cup, and Chelsea have been really successful in it in recent history. Just haven't brought it home since 2018. So I want it this year. Bad.
All right. Well, we've got a few more very good matchups, notably on Saturday, a full lineup, but also tomorrow at 3 p.m., Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester City. Um, Once again,
Wow.
there's no telling who's in, who's out in these kinds of lineups, but between these two teams, they both look pretty good right now. I think Tottenham's kind of they're turning around for the better at the moment. I'd say
Timo looks
personally.
good.
Sorry?
Timo looks good
Yeah,
in
Timo
this
does look
new
good.
Tottenham team.
Good start for
Yep.
him. Um, but the 2-2 draw against Man United, a week or so ago, not the best, I have to say. But like you said, Timo Werner did have a good game. He assisted, I believe he assisted
Ben Kentor.
Richarlison's. Oh, okay. So yeah, he assisted Bentancur's goal, and then Richarlison also had a goal that was assisted by Pedro Porro, who has been awesome this season.
Don't even, bro. If we do like a team of the season for second and short with the Premier League,
I'd love that.
Pedro Porro is a lock at right back.
Yeah, I
Or
agree. It's
if
between him and
Chelsea
Trent.
ever wanted, yeah, yeah, because Trent's having a good year too. But no, seriously, if Chelsea ever actually, if it came down to replacing Reece James, I want Pedro Porro.
Yeah,
Tottenham can have all the money they want in the world. Pedro Porro he's
he's
so
awesome.
sick. He needs to start being talked about more often.
Yeah,
For sure.
I definitely agree. Um, yeah, like this was a weird match a couple of weeks ago because Rasmus Højlund actually did something, which certainly makes it a weird match for Manchester
Yeah.
United. Um,
Yep.
but like, what the fuck is Johnny Evans doing? Why is he back? Why is he always back?
Getting the gang back together, man.
He just finds his way into the Manchester United squad for like a month every year.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Johnny Evans, he's one of those players that like he's worked his way into the system.
Yeah.
Like I know good and damn well that there are teenagers in academies better than Johnny Evans right
Yep.
now. But he has worked his way into the system. It's like kind of like backup quarterbacks, I guess. Like there's
Yeah. Oh
one
yeah.
that'll just float around even though they're not good. But yeah, that's Johnny Evans. I mean, respect, but also no respect.
Fair enough. So right now, for Manchester City, it looks like you may not see John Stones, Erling Haaland, or Ederson in this team. That is not a good sign.
But is Oscar Bob gonna play or not?
That's true. He is a difference maker, for
Watch
sure.
out for Oscar Bob.
I will say Phil Foden has played well in the FA Cup so far this season. In their only match they played, he scored 2 of the goals that Man City scored. So
Wow.
definitely be on the lookout for old Philip. But For Tottenham, I think it's just a matter of being clinical. They've had that issue plenty of times. Obviously, when Richarlison's your striker, it's hard to be clinical. Um, but Manchester City doesn't give you a lot of opportunities to score. And if
No.
Tottenham is going to even compete in this game, they've got to, finish a couple of those opportunities. You just don't see a lot of chances created, especially at the fault of Manchester City, and Tottenham's got to do something about it. The problem is Manchester City is
Uh,
kind of getting back to full health, or at least getting towards it. Obviously, De Bruyne is back in the lineup, as I woefully discussed last week. Um,
oh
and
boy.
plenty of other guys can make an impact in that lineup, even if Holland's out. I'm certainly not worried about Manchester City if they're missing Erling Holland. Um, but Tottenham Hotspur very, very close to the return of James Maddison, which they are very much looking forward to.
I'm mad that you brought it up because I actually I was checking on his injury while you were talking, and he could actually return
Yeah,
tomorrow and play in this game, which is, I guess, not really breaking news, but that's breaking news for this discussion because if he comes back and hits it off like how he was playing, that's, it's going to be a good game.
yeah,
He's going to help out with that clinical part that you were talking about. He can make them more clinical. Will they still be better than Manchester City even without those players? Probably tactically, no. Manchester City probably still are the better team, but if James Madison comes back, that's definitely a game changer. Changer, regardless of the outcome, it's a
yeah,
game changer.
yeah, for sure. I think the biggest problem is that you're missing Huangman's son, who's playing in the Asia Cup right now.
Yeah.
That's kind of the biggest knock. So, for Manchester City, I think they'll probably win. I know we haven't really been doing predictions, but I think they're going to win 2-0.
Okay. Are these in legs? Or are these one games for this round?
No clue.
I
I'll be
think it's just
honest.
one game. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 1-1 draw into overtime. And Manchester City are gonna win 2-1 in overtime,
Okay.
extra time.
All right. Well, then there's a couple of pretty good matches on Saturday between like Premier League teams. You have Everton, Luton, Sheffield United versus Brighton. But we're going to talk Fulham, Newcastle. I just wanted a chance to talk about Newcastle. Um, I The injuries are killing us still, especially with Joe Ellington being out until about May. That's not good at all, considering the midfield depth was already an issue. Luckily, Joe Willock should be returning pretty soon. Jacob Murphy should be returning pretty soon. Um, so that should help. Harvey Barnes should be back within a matter of weeks. So the things are kind of turning around there for midfield depth, but uh, don't like where we're at right now with it. Obviously, we can throw out a midfield with Longstaff, Guimaraes, and Lewis Miley, but how far will that get us? I don't know because it hasn't been hasn't brought the best results.
I'm sorry, but like we haven't actually really ever mentioned this on the podcast. I'm laughing at you talking about your Newcastle issues because it's really very similar to what
It
Chelsea's
is,
going through.
yeah,
It's extremely
yeah,
similar. We are ninth and 10th in the Premier League table, I believe.
yes,
Um, but kind of like Chelsea, Newcastle is still a team that I have hope for, especially against Fulham. Which I would say that coming off of that Liverpool game, Fulham is coming into this one a little bit hot. They've proven that they can
yeah,
kind of contend with a Liverpool team that's almost majority starters. But this is a game where I would still hope that Newcastle could win here. But I
yeah.
don't. I don't know. Is that fair to say against Fulham for you
I
guys?
think you're
I
entirely
don't
in
know.
in the right place to be saying that. Obviously, our last two Prem matches have been extremely difficult. Facing Man City and Liverpool, and outside of that, that's all we've played in 2024 is Liverpool, Liverpool, Man City, and then we had played the FA Cup in the last round and beat Sunderland, who is a fierce rival, and we did beat them 3-0. Not a good team, but a rival nonetheless. And
Yeah,
I
fair.
think my biggest thing is that like nothing has changed. Nothing has changed since we lost 1-0 to fucking Luton Town. Nothing's changed since we lost 3-1 to Nottingham Forest. And, looking back, like nothing's changed since we got thrashed by Everton and Tottenham, in just a matter of a couple days. Like this team, there needed to be changes. They haven't done anything in the transfer window. And it's getting to the point where it's almost too late. And now all of the sudden I'm seeing everything. And we'll talk a little bit about stuff that, we might be doing, but it's like, why did we wait so long to try and address all of these issues? Because the first of all, Callum Wilson sucks. He is horrible. I do not want to see him play another game. It's likely that he doesn't. And I'm getting tired of the midfield depth. Obviously, we've kind of already talked about that plenty. Um, I'm getting pretty tired of that. I'm glad that Sven Botman's back, but Fabian Schär is just simply not playing that well. Um, and he needs to be better. So, there's obviously things that can be addressed, but it's just a matter of getting these guys to just go out there and play. Like it just the depth is what kills us for sure. But the fact that even when we have our best 11 players on that pitch, they're not playing well. I don't know what needs to change, but obviously something is wrong.
That's fair. That's fair. So how do you think the Fulham game is gonna go?
I just feel like Fulham's got us, man. Like,
Really?
yeah, the injuries are
Wow.
certainly not helping. The depth certainly doesn't help because think about it, we're gonna have to throw out probably our best fucking lineup, and if we don't, it's gonna be a shit lineup if we don't throw out the best guys we have available. And considering this is an
Yeah.
FA Cup match, and I think we turn around and play a Premier League match not like 4 days later, um, you're probably not going to see a full strength Newcastle lineup. For Fulham, yeah, you're probably not going to see a full strength Fulham team, considering they played Liverpool a couple days ago. They play us on the 27th, and then they play a game in a matter of days from then too. I don't know. I don't trust our ability to play well if we don't have the best 11 out there, and I don't see us putting out our best lineup here.
I think though I want to add that the 2-3 loss to City, there definitely are some
There was
positives you
positives
can
for
take
sure,
from that game.
for sure.
Like if you want to look at it from a wider lens, Newcastle held City to a major comeback with all of these depth issues and injury issues and kind of questions at striker. So,
Yeah.
Newcastle are a team that, they might be struggling right now, but it's a different kind of struggle. They're hanging on.
Yeah. Oh,
They're
I,
hanging
I
on.
definitely agree. It's just, we're at this point in the season where like there's been a lot of breaks. Like it's not just like Premier League match every single weekend. And I
Yeah.
think that's thrown people off. I think, for the players, the schedule just feels weird. Because like think of it, we were playing our best soccer for like the first, 3 months of the season, essentially. And we looked great. And then we hit like that late December part of the year where like you start playing more midweek Premier League matches and like
Mhm.
the Champions League group stage has just come to an end, but now Christmas is coming around, so they want to load up the weekdays with matches and then you have the FA Cup and the EFL Cup and the schedule just becomes so weird that like it doesn't for some reason we've really fallen off in this part of the season where like a lot of matches end up being a lot closer together.
Yeah.
So and once again, that
Fair.
kind of is a testament to how bad the depth is, and the fact that we can't put out a good there. We literally cannot pull a good player off our bench. There is not one. Uh, but luckily, there is guys coming back from injury, which should definitely help. I'm excited to see Jacob Murphy and Joseph Willock or Joe Willock come back because they're both great players.
Fantastic. I like that take. I'm going to go ahead and give a score prediction. I'm going to go 1-0 Newcastle.
All right, I'm gonna go 1-1 goes into extra, and we'll win it. We'll take Newcastle 2-1 in extra
Okay.
time. All right. Well, that's the FA Cup. Anything else to add before we get into some transfer news?
Um, no, I think we can go ahead and jump in.
All right. Well, then let's go ahead and do it. Some transfer news to talk about for sure. And as always, we open up this segment with Kylian Mbappe news every single week, and
Oh, yes.
today is not any different. Um, so it looks like, I don't know if this is true because I'm sure tomorrow, honestly, I'm sure while we're talking about this, I'm gonna get a Twitter notification that says this isn't true. But for now,
Man.
Kylian Mbappe has told PSG he will not stay there after his contract expires in the summer. He's likely to go to Real Madrid. He wants 70 million euros a year. Real Madrid is willing to offer about 35, which is kind of low.
Damn.
Plus bonuses,
Oh.
is what I've heard. But the craziest wrinkle in all of this is that if Real Madrid get Kylian Mbappe this summer, which does look like it's getting increasingly likely, Real Madrid might explore their options in selling Vinicius Jr.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. I know it's been talked about, but only in terms of the racism that he's faced over
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Um, I don't know. I love Vinicius on Madrid. It just feels so right. That would be
yeah.
weird
He's
to
so
see
good.
him leave Madrid. He's fantastic.
Yeah. A kind of weird thing that I also heard, Florentino Perez said that he thinks Mbappe is the best player in the world, and he thinks Vinicius Jr. is the second best player in the world. First of all, have you not been watching what Jude Bellingham's been doing for your team all year? And second of all,
Yeah.
Erling Haaland exists and does play
Yeah.
soccer as well. Um,
Yeah, that's typical Florentino, Mr. Mob Boss Perez,
yeah,
just trying to sway Mbappe.
yeah. But kind of crazy to just shit on Jude Bellingham like that.
And saying that Vinicius Jr. is the second best
Yeah,
player in the
he's
world.
not. He's fantastic. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Not the second best player in the world. Maybe top 10.
Yeah.
And it'd take some arguing. But other news, of course, whenever a good player is like first talked about being transferred, Manchester United are tracking this development. Um,
Oh,
of
nice.
course, even though right now they're talking about how many players they got to sell to just make any money. Um,
Yeah, and it's January 25th,
yeah,
so good luck.
yeah. Uh, the
Oh,
next
man.
thing, though, another factor in Mbappe's decision on where he wants to play is that he wants to play in the Olympics this year. And that if a club will not allow him to play, he will not join their club. So, and
Fair.
I think that'd be a simple thing to do, like a simple thing for a club to just be like, no, we don't want you to play in it, because he's definitely going to be playing in the Euros this summer, but he wants to play in the
Mhm.
Olympics since it's in Paris, um, which is big for any French player. A lot of French guys probably do want to play in it, but I understand if a club doesn't want him to because the Euros are going to go from June 14th to July 14th. And then the group stages for the Olympics will begin 10 days later on July 24th. And then that
Yeah,
goes
I
until August 2nd, or sorry, August 10th. And then the season starts within a matter of days or weeks.
yeah, oh, yeah, so he wouldn't
He
be with the
wouldn't get a
team
summer,
for a while. Yeah, he
pretty
wouldn't have a
much.
summer either. But, I mean, if we're concerned about his body, Mbappe's a superstar.
Yeah, of course.
If he's definitely one of the players in the world that could do that. But it's weird because if he's not getting back with the team until like a week before, and it's a new team, that's kind of strange.
Yeah,
Um, and what if in the advent, chance since he's playing in two summer tournaments, what if he does get hurt?
that's.
I mean,
I
who knows?
understand the concern
Yeah.
for sure. All right, let's talk about this. It's not even transfer news, so I should have put it at the end. But this is crazy. If Manchester City were to be found guilty of the most serious of the alleged financial fair play breaches and all that, and they do get relegated, rumors are swirling that Pep Guardiola will sign a new contract with Man City. He'll get paid less money just to defy the Premier League, essentially.
Wow. And he would absolutely cakewalk
Oh my
everybody
god, dude.
in the
Okay, let's
championship.
who's the worst team in the championship right now?
Yeah. Try like Crawley Town.
Oh, they definitely could be. I'm trying to just pull up the table. Here we go. Rotherham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rotherham.
They have won a whopping 3 games. And they've played 28. Dude, but
Damn.
like, okay, here, I'll give everybody an example of this team on a rainy night in Stoke. 19th in the table, Stoke City right now. Pep Guardiola is walking in to Stoke with fucking Oscar Bob starting in this lineup with every single young player and then a drunk Jack Grealish at the left wing.
Yeah.
And shit stomping Stoke City.
Yeah. Completely just dismantling
Yeah.
them.
Like Swansea, no chance. Blackburn Rovers, they haven't been good since what? Alan Shearer was there?
What was he a Blackburn player?
Yeah, he went Blackburn,
Okay.
Newcastle. Um,
Okay.
I think he won the Prem with Blackburn. I could be wrong.
Maybe.
For some reason, I feel like that's right. Um,
Guardiola's going to put on a masterclass.
yeah, dude, if
So,
Pep actually is a manager in the championship, I will lose my mind.
yeah.
It'd be hilarious.
Unbelievable, dude.
Considering Barcelona would cry if he came back. They would
Yeah.
they would fall to their knees if he came back. But yeah, I thought that was insane. But the next thing, another guy that we talk about every single week is Alphonso Davies. New development, probably not going to Real Madrid. Because Bayern has
Oh,
now offered him a new contract that is much better than Real Madrid's offer. So the expectation is that he will remain in Bayern Munich.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I think we talked about this 2 weeks ago. Alphonso Davies has not been as good as he used to be. Um, and I think we talked about like mental health being a factor with
Oh
like
yeah, with his
the
girlfriend.
relationship. Yeah. We talked about that.
Yeah.
I thought a change of scenery would be good for him. If he doesn't want it, then I don't know. Stay at Bayern. Get that bag.
Yeah. Sure.
But to stick with Bayern and fullbacks, Bayern was showing interest in Kieran Trippier, whoever, however the fuck you want to say it. I say it however I decide to say it that one time. I never say I'm not consistent with it at all. I will say. I just call him Kieran half the time when I'm yelling at the screen. But yeah, Bayern dropped out of trying to get him because Newcastle was asking for 25 million. I think that's a fair
Hmm.
price.
Yeah, I maybe you could get more.
Yeah, like considering his chance creation and just set piece skills that he's shown off in the last 2 seasons, I think he's easily worth that.
Yeah, for sure.
Newcastle also did sign somebody. It just happens to be an 18-year-old midfielder from Man City, Alfie Harrison. Maybe we'll get lucky.
Okay. Yeah,
Maybe
who
we'll get
knows?
lucky on our Manchester City young midfielder.
Is he a player that you think could see the field recently with that
Nah,
midfield depth or no?
I don't think he's
Yeah.
made an appearance for the senior team.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe he'll be good. He looks like, yeah, no, he kind of does. He kind of looks like Erling Haaland on meth.
What's this guy's name?
Alfie Harrison. He's got like the long hair with like the shaved sides, and he puts it in like a little bun on the back. He just looks like a super skinny version of Erling Haaland.
Yeah, he definitely looks like he was born in 2005. There's like he has like no
Yeah,
facial features. He's like a Lego.
yeah, he is. I love that. Is a fantastic, fantastic observation. He is a Lego. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll score fucking 50 goals. That'd be nice.
Who knows? Who knows?
Let's see a couple more. Leander Dendocker is heading on loan to Napoli from Aston Villa. Um, yeah, it's a pretty solid move. He's not really getting his way into Aston Villa's squad right now, and Napoli always goes for players that are out of favor in the Prem.
Yeah, respect to Napoli for doing that. But I remember
Yeah,
the Din Donker guy. I think he was at Dortmund before, and they
yeah, I
were
think he was
talking about him kind of having some potential. And I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he still has a chance to get it all together.
possibly. Well, now we're gonna hit the Manchester United section of transfer news.
Yeah.
This is where it's just like, are you serious? These are horrible decisions. This one is a good one to be interested in. They've showed some strong interest in Gleason Bremer, the Brazilian center back for Juventus.
Mhm.
But it's not known if Juventus are willing to sell him right now. But apparently United have been kind of keeping an eye on him for a few months, likely to make the move in the summer and not this January.
Yeah. Sorry, yawning as well. I like that one.
Yeah, yeah, I think that'd be a
Solid.
good move. He's a very good center back, much better than Johnny Evans. I'm willing to say
Yeah,
that.
probably.
This one was bit of a head scratcher. Manchester United turned down Inter Milan's offer to swap Aaron Wan-Bissaka for Denzel Dumfries. I feel like that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I was about to say Dumfries is crazy,
Yeah, he is amazing.
and Bisaka has never, never turned into what you wanted him to.
No, not at all. And the only reason I could think for them not taking this is that apparently Al Nassr are lining up quite the bid for Casemiro and Aaron Wan-Bissaka because it looks like Manchester United is trying to sell off some of their higher earning players so that this new kind of management group can make their own moves, bring in their own guys. And Casemiro and Wan-Bissaka simply get paid way too much for what the role they play. So if Al Nassr is gonna, fork over a shitload of money, I wouldn't blame them for selling both those guys off.
Yeah, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. Bruno Fernandez would be the first on my list
Yep,
to jump ship for
agreed,
me. You
definitely.
got to restart there.
Yep.
Like
Then
compare just Bruno gets so much more attention, but James Madison is leagues
yeah,
better than Bruno.
definitely, and they play the
Leagues
same
better than
position.
Bruno. Exactly.
Even
Sorry, I didn't
fucking
mean to cut you off
Bernardo
right there.
Silva is better than Bruno Fernandez, and he's not even the best midfielder on his team.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
insane. And then last thing, Manchester United have informed Anthony Martial that his contract will not be renewed this summer. So that is finally coming to an end. Enough of Manchester United signing a striker, they get hurt, and Anthony Martial still ends up on the field. Enough of it.
How has he survived this long?
I don't know. Like I remember when he made that move from Monaco, and it just being the biggest deal. He was the next
Yeah.
guy. And he had a couple of
Yep.
seasons where he looked decent. Never was he never once would I have considered him like a great player or a player
No.
that should have stayed on Manchester United this long.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk
I
about
do
your
not get it.
guys. Chelsea. Supposedly
Uh-oh.
they are ready to pay Victor Osimhen's release clause in the summer, not in January, in the summer. But that release clause is somewhere around 120 to 130 million euros.
Yeah, we just keep doing it. Keep spending and hoping. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's not even how much he's going to get paid. Um just please don't be somebody that we just sell the next transfer window.
Yeah.
Just stay and be good. Yeah, it's a bummer that we're not getting him this January, but yeah, kind of like with what you were talking about with Newcastle, Chelsea have a lot of we've signed a lot, but just the fact that we didn't even bring in a striker is ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
So it's at least good to hear that we're at least ready to prepare or pay Osimhen's release clause. But it's also a soccer rumor. We could end up with a totally different striker in the
Yeah,
summer, or nobody at all. Who knows?
that's true. Armando Broja could be your striker come next season.
Yeah, definitely
um,
could be.
Chelsea are also interested in a move for a different striker, that being Aston Villa's, I believe it's Jon Duran. It's Jhon. I don't know how he wants to pronounce it. I just don't want to say Johan Duran because that's a MLB player. But apparently
Yeah,
Chelsea want this guy before the end of January.
yeah. I mean, that's fine. Get somebody else in there. I'm
Yeah,
fine with
and
that.
he's a good striker. He's not quite the starter for Villa right now with how they're set up. It's like they're not willing to bench Ollie Watkins for him, and he probably should be.
Yeah.
Next thing though, one of my guys that I was talking about that I didn't want is getting some
Oh no.
interest because he is officially available. Manchester United,
Is it
Arsenal, and
Guimaraes?
Chelsea have been alerted to the availability of Callum Wilson, who's only going to cost them
Oh,
about 18 million pounds. I think West Ham have showed the most interest thus far, but quite a few teams looking at Callum Wilson for that low price. I would love nothing more for him to be gone.
and West Ham fans getting Callum Wilson instead of Mikel Antonio. That's such an L. that is that's hard.
Yeah, that's how it goes. They'll be fine.
Yeah,
And more
that's
striker
crazy.
talk, I guess. Arsenal are ready to spend 50 million euros to sign Joshua Zirkzee from Bologna next summer. But Manchester United have also emerged as contenders for him.
Mm,
He's been a guy that I've been just like over the last like 2 months, just blown up. Like I'm seeing him everywhere.
I haven't heard of this guy.
He is very good. It appears.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, 50 million euros and Arsenal and United are at your door, probably.
Yeah,
Shit.
yeah. But is United willing to spend more money on a young striker from a middle tier Italian team? Two transfer windows in a
Yeah,
row.
yeah, exactly.
Can they do it to themselves? I
Yeah,
don't. I
this
don't think so.
Joshua Xerxes in the Serie A, 19 games, 7 goals, 2 assists.
Yeah, very good player.
22 years old. Not bad.
Next thing though, finally, the day has finally come. Calvin Phillips has undergone his medical for West Ham.
I really like that move.
Yeah,
It's a loaded midfield, but there's more opportunity for him there,
agreed.
I think.
I think West Ham's willing to rotate that squad quite a bit. So Calvin Phillips can actually get in there a few times.
Yeah, maybe if they finally let Paqueta go, maybe
Maybe.
Calvin Wilson can. I mean, not really fill in a Paqueta role, but you could work around the midfield to where that role is, or that spot is Calvin
Yeah.
Phillips. Who knows?
Yeah. Moises Keane. I don't know how you say it. He'll be completing his Atletico Madrid physical on Monday. So he is
Okay,
on his
solid.
way out from Juventus. I can't remember if it's a loan deal or not. I think it is. I'm not too sure. But yeah, I'm glad to kind of just see him make a move out. I think he needed to.
Yeah, maybe not to Aston Villa though. I think he
It's
needs to go to a
Atletico
team
Madrid.
that's worse. Oh yeah, sorry, Atletico Madrid. But yeah, I would like him to go to a team that's worse. Aston Villa would be better
Maybe.
for him,
Asheville's pretty good.
but but they could use a striker.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. This is just kind of getting out of the transfer rumors now. The Dutch Public Prosecution Service has demanded an unconditional 9-year prison sentence for Quincy Proms for his involvement in importing over 1,300 kilos of cocaine.
Oh man, dude, you're a professional athlete at a high level. You're getting paid. And that's ridiculous too.
Yeah.
That's not like, oh, have a little weed here and there. No, that's I was smuggling cocaine.
Yeah, and like you're allowed to have a little weed here and there if you play at fucking Ajax, and then he just
Yeah.
left and went to Russia, and nobody's
Yeah.
nobody's gonna get him. It's crazy.
Damn Spetsnaz cracked down on him.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Not to get political, but the Russians do like to poison people. Just do it to him.
Euthanized, Quincy Promise.
I don't know about that. I'm just like make his stomach hurt or something. Make his stomach hurt and refuse him
Give me,
healthcare.
serve him bad milk.
Yeah. You'll be
Undercook his
fine.
food.
But next
Oh,
thing,
man.
doubts over Thomas Tuchel are growing internally at Bayern Munich. I don't know how to say this fucking guy's name. I think he's the sporting director. Yuli something. Howness. I don't know. I know it's that weird B. I think it's pronounced as an S. Um, he's got some doubts, but he wants more stability at the club. Doesn't want the coaching chair at Bayern to turn into, as he called it, an ejection seat with another firing, and that's the main reason that Tuchel is still safe for now. So he's keeping his job because Bayern doesn't want it to look like they fire head coaches too quickly. Except he's
Not a good look.
doing a bad job.
Yeah. Not a good look.
Yeah, and like, look, they're not that bad. I know that it hasn't been a great season for them, but like, you're second in the table, and you've only lost 2 matches. It just happens that Bayer Leverkusen hasn't lost a match in any competitions.
Yeah, and you also had a fantastic Champions League group stage as well, and in a
Yeah,
tough group as
yeah,
well. Um, yeah, no, I've noticed ever since Tuchel took over there that the gap in the Bundesliga has gotten closer with Union Berlin last season,
yeah,
and Bayer Leverkusen this season.
yeah. I will say with Bayer Leverkusen, it does suck that Xabi is certainly going somewhere else after the end of the season.
Yeah, he literally just used Leverkusen to build a resume.
Yeah, and
That was it.
it's one hell of a resume, especially if
Yeah,
they go
yeah,
undefeated.
yeah.
Imagine undefeated
Oh
wins the
man.
Bundesliga. Oh my god, it'll be crazy.
Yep, and the manager of Chelsea next season. Unbelievable.
No, I think you're gonna have Poch next season still.
Yeah, that Xabi Alonso would either go to Liverpool or probably Real Madrid
Yeah,
or Bayern
he
Munich.
could go to Bayern
Who
Munich.
knows?
That actually sounds pretty perfect. He wins
Yeah,
Bayer Leverkusen Bundesliga and then just jumps ship to the other best team.
yeah, and then takes Bayer Leverkusen just
Yeah.
back down, just destructs what he created.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. Oh, honestly, he'd probably just take all the good players and just bring them to Bayern.
Yeah,
That would be pretty funny.
instead of shopping at Dortmund, they'll shop at Bayer Leverkusen.
Yeah, he'll just be like, okay, I would like Frimpong, Grimaldo.
Yeah,
Just go down the list.
all those guys.
Boniface, all of you. Florian Wirtz
Wow,
finally will leave Leverkusen. Um, all right,
needs to happen.
next thing. Jordan Brand are in talks with teams since their split from PSG, and in particular, Chelsea have been in conversations over a Jordan
Oh,
sponsorship.
interesting. That would be sick.
Yeah, Jordan Chelsea
Yeah,
kids.
the PSG jerseys are awesome. That are Jordan.
Yeah, they are
I
pretty
like
sick.
that. I like that a
Okay,
lot.
and then we're gonna go through this list that came out. It's the highest revenue generating clubs in 2022-2023 season, and then we'll get into questions time after that. So number one, do you have a guess?
Is it Chelsea?
It is not. Chelsea is on the list though.
Um, is it a is it like one of the big normal teams, or is it like going to be like a Saudi Arabian team?
No, it's a big normal team.
Okay. Is it City?
No, City is number two.
No.
Number one is Real
Tell me.
Madrid.
Okay.
Number three, just give you the easiest hint: Qatari money.
PSG.
Yes, at
Yeah.
801.8 million euros last season.
Hmm.
And number four is kind of a surprise. I'll just go ahead and say it. It's Barcelona, who made 800 million euros last year and are still broke as fuck. I don't get where all their money goes.
I don't know, man. I mean, like As a college student, like I try to like stop eating out as much.
Yeah,
Maybe Laporta should stop buying like I don't even know like what like 18 Bugattis. What? How do you spend that much money? Where does that money go?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know because it's
Oh
not
man,
like they've had like
putting
crazy transfers in at all.
no, no. They've gotten good players, but they've
Yeah,
all been really affordable like
they've gotten a
deals.
lot of guys on freeze.
Yeah,
Like I don't think they paid for Yao Cancelo. I think they got him on a free.
SEA was free, I think.
Gundogan was
Too.
free.
Yep.
Was Lewandowski free or at least very cheap?
He may have been. I think he was free.
Yeah,
I think that's another one.
and like they've sold off some guys for like not the best, but they've gotten
Yeah.
some money out of transfers out. Like I don't know where the hell all that money is.
Pedri is an academy player.
Yeah,
I
a
mean,
bunch of
yeah,
the guys
they,
on that and making it into that team right now are Pedri,
yeah,
Gavi, Lamine Yamal. Like so many guys on that team right now are academy guys.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Good
I don't
point.
know what the deal is.
It is.
But next, Manchester United, 745.8 million euros. Um, Bayern Munich just after them, only 1 million less euros. And then you get a bit of a drop off down to Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea, and Arsenal. Tottenham, officially the most valuable club in London.
That's really a joke.
It's not.
Well, yeah, I know, but it's a joke.
It is pretty
Oh
insane
man.
to think that, like, even up at the top of the list, like, Real Madrid is pretty fucking close to making €1 billion in a year, in a season.
Mm.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, and you got to think like of what that new stadium's going to do for him too, because I'm sure
Yeah.
that's why Tottenham is better than Chelsea and Arsenal as
Yeah,
far
it
as
probably
London
is.
goes.
Yeah.
Tottenham by far have the best stadium.
Yeah. Brand new stadium.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like Arsenal, like because you can't look at this stuff and base it off of like how good a team really is. It's just about like the ways the teams generate revenue is simply not based on play like the players they have. Obviously, these are all a lot of the top clubs in the in the world. It's because they have, people funding them extremely highly. But that aids to getting good players. But like it's not about how good a team plays. Like just because you finish top 4 in the Prem doesn't mean you're going to make this list.
No, and you can even break it down further and go into like what teams play in like the bigger markets. Like
Yeah.
Paris is a massive market, of course.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and Madrid is obviously a massive market. I'm honestly surprised to not see Atletico Madrid on this list. I'm sure they're not too far down the list, but
mhm.
Atletico Madrid doesn't have like super rich owners. It's just a well-run team. A lot of academy players, a lot of young players they get from other small teams' academies that just end up being very good players. Um,
Yeah,
and then, but then, like you compare that to Real Madrid, where it's like they're bankrolled heavily, they're the dominant team in the market, but they're dominant internationally. That's what all these teams are good at is international dominance. Real Madrid is
yeah,
selling jerseys in every fucking continent. Same goes for Man City. Same goes for PSG and Barcelona and United and Bayern and Liverpool. And for Tottenham's sake, they are decently um, rooted for in America. I think there is like
oh
when
yeah,
you
for
break it
sure.
down, like Premier League fandom in America, like obviously the Chelseas and Arsenals, Man United, Man City, and Liverpool definitely dominate for sure. Tottenham's very much up there. They have quite a
Oh
good
yeah,
following in America,
yeah, big one,
and I think
big time.
when it comes to why teams' revenues are so high, I think it's because of a peak in interest in soccer from America. It's a huge market for revenue growth, like for revenue generating to be a team that functions in an entirely different continent to have the American market at your grasp is huge for money.
Oh yeah, and I mean even like some of the major cities in America have like Premier League team bars
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you can go to. It's awesome. It's so cool.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I guess it is questions time. And we got more questions from Nathan.
Yeah.
He's been changing um the language of
Oh
the
no.
word more every single time for the last couple of weeks. So a couple weeks ago was muchos questions. This time it's I don't know what language this is. I put it into Google Translate. It told me it was Czech. Uh, I
Uh-oh.
think it's Vis questions. So yeah, more questions from Nathan. Let's start with this one. Favorite NFL
Oh
player to
man.
watch that doesn't play for your team. This might be the easiest thing ever. Lamar Jackson.
For you?
Yeah,
Um
he's so fun to watch.
I would I would probably go Alvin Kamara.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara or probably Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, not bad shouts at all. Um,
Yeah.
okay, this one's interesting. What NFL team has the best or most unique playbook? So just watching their offense, who do you think does it most unique?
That's a good question. I would go Baltimore's offense. They run
Mm,
that pistol formation unlike anything I have
yeah,
ever seen in the NFL before, and it's like it's just with Lamar's ability to throw, run, and
yeah,
when you don't even line up with a fullback, when you throw another running back out there, it just becomes kind of unfair.
yeah. I'm pretty in on the 49ers offense. It just is pulled off so flawlessly that like,
Yeah.
because like it's like a weird mixture of like a spread and a little bit West Coast, but primarily spread offense. And Shanahan is so inventive. Like even when it's not just the offense, the fucking trick plays. Mitch Wishnowski just does whatever the fuck he wants, and he's the punter.
Yeah.
Like they just do shit
Yeah.
differently, and it makes it super fun to watch. But I do love your take for the Ravens because Todd Monken's done crazy things to that offense this year.
But he's also been able to keep the good parts from
Yeah,
previous
for sure,
offenses as
for
well.
sure.
Yeah.
What's the best running back duo this season? I think there's an easy choice personally.
I think we actually I may have already asked you this question before in
Possibly.
our questions time when we
Possibly.
made the questions. Probably the Lions one.
Yep. It's definitely David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs.
Yeah, I mean, they're with it. I've mentioned this a lot on the podcast, but with it becoming the new like kind of meta, there are
Yeah.
some really good ones out there. Like Najee and Jalen Warren at the
I
end of
was
the
about to
season
say.
were
Yeah.
awesome. Bijan and Tyler Algier were pretty consistent, I
Yep.
would say, all throughout their season. Yeah, those are just a couple that come to mind, but there's a couple.
Yeah, there is a few. I think for David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs, it's one of the few where it's like veteran and rookie. Like David Montgomery's been around
That's
for
a
quite a
good,
while now. Um,
yeah,
but Jameer Gibbs is a rookie. A lot of times you see it more like Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. One guy had a really good season, another guy, kind of just been an average guy leading up to it. And then you put these guys together in that backfield and give both of them the opportunities to excel, and all of a sudden they're both good running backs. Whereas Jameer Gibbs and Dave Montgomery got rejected by multiple teams, over
yeah.
the course of his career. Now he ends up with the Lions, and it was kind of just like pick him up because he's a pretty good running back, but he never
And
really
now he's
lives
in the
up to the
conference
potential.
championship.
Yeah, now they're in the conference championship.
Yeah.
They have Jameer Gibbs on this team now, who's been amazing. Like that's how you do it. And I will say the Steelers did it a similar way. Najee Harris, young. Jalen Warren, pretty young as well. But like when Najee Harris came in, who was the other running back on that team? Benny Snell.
Yeah.
Yeah, out of Kentucky. Like that's
Yes.
that's not much competition.
Let's see. If you're, are you done with that
Yeah,
answer?
yeah.
Who do you think is the best running back duo of all time?
Okay, there's a lot of them I can't speak to just because I never watched them. If I'm going through like my favorites, I loved Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman for the
Oh,
Falcons.
that I didn't even
It was a
think about that one,
fantastic
but
duo.
that one, yeah.
Also, honestly, last year Tony Pollard and Zeke were very good.
Yeah, I was gonna say Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, that was a
Solid.
very good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to think of any more. There was, yeah, there was a year where James White and Jay Ajayi, I believe, were the running back. Or no, not Jay Ajayi. Who the fuck was it? Running back for the Patriots. It was
Was it
James
Rex
White.
Burkhead? Is
No,
that who you're thinking of? The white guy? Sony Michelle?
no.
Little
It was
James
before
White?
Sony Michelle.
Hmm.
It might have been Jay Ajayi. I know he was on the Patriots at some point, but I
Jay Ajayi was on the Patriots? I don't think
think so.
Jay Ajayi played for the Dolphins and Eagles. I don't think he ever played for the Patriots.
Okay. I don't know who I'm thinking of. He was like a definitely like a power running back. I can't think of who it is.
Oh, was it LeGarrette Blunt?
Yes, it was LeGarrette Blunt and James White.
Yeah. So the only reason I knew that is because Le'Veon Bell and LeGarrette Blunt had a good duo. In Le'Veon Bell's like first years in the league.
Mm,
But then LeGarrette Blunt introduced Le'Veon Bell to weed, and we lost him forever.
yeah,
That's really how that story went.
fair enough. Anything
Oh
else for
man.
this topic?
No, we can move on.
All
Sorry.
right. Who's winning the home
Long
run
time.
derby next season?
Um. Wow, that's such a good
It's
question.
so
I
difficult. You
It
never
is
know.
difficult. There are so many guys I could think of.
Yeah,
I would really like to see Aaron Judge win multiple, but I don't know if it'll be next season.
fair.
Do you have an answer?
Um, not not particularly. No. I'm trying to think of like some sleepers.
Miguel Sano.
Um,
Not Miguel Sano.
yeah, obviously Pete Alonso probably be there. Vlad probably be there.
No way that's the first name that came out of your mouth was Pete
Well,
Alonso.
I'm just thinking of home run derbies, and that's all he's good at. So, um, let's see. Let's see. You think Shohei will do it this year again? He did it, I think, 2 years ago. He wasn't very good
He
at it.
probably should.
He wasn't very good at it. That's the funny thing.
Yeah. I think he should do it.
Yeah. What about Matt
New
Olson? I
team.
don't think he'd do it, but
Ooh, Matt Olson is
he
a
would be
shout.
good
I would
for it.
like to see him in it. I would
Yeah.
really like to see him. What about like you think Tatis would ever do it?
I think he has done it before.
I don't remember him in a home run derby.
I feel like it was like 2019, maybe. I don't know.
You know
21.
what? Final answer: Julio Rodriguez.
Fair enough. Yeah, I guess that's pretty good. Oh no, Tatis wasn't in that one. That was Matt Chapman, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Bregman, Jock Peterson, Josh Bell, Ronald Acuna, Pete Alonso, and Carlos Santana. That's surprising.
Hmm.
Carlos Santana is a weird one.
Yeah.
Very weird. All right. Next question. What player in the MLB will have his Tim Anderson year where he is only talked about negatively for the first time in his career?
That is a really good
Yeah, I
question.
like this one.
And I actually have a pretty good answer to this,
Please.
and I think it works with the dynamic. I'm actually going to go Juan Soto.
Interesting.
And that's
I
I
think that's
think he will
fully based
be.
off New York media, though.
It is.
But, like, nobody had a good thing to say about Tim Anderson this season. I think Juan Soto will always have the redeeming feature in that he gets on base.
Yeah, but like, what if he's a gigantic douchebag
Nah, I don't think he is.
in pinstripes? I mean, who knows? Try to
Trying to
think
think
of another guy.
of guys I think are gonna kind of
Ozzy
fall off.
Albies.
Hey, fuck you.
I'm just kidding.
He gets so disrespect. I know you're just kidding. He gets so fucking
Yeah.
disrespected by like the national media. How the
Oh,
fuck
I picked him because I think he's the nicest
he is?
guy.
But like,
Just as a joke.
how the fuck did he not make MLB Network's top 10 second baseman in the league right now?
Oh, probably because there were too many Braves and they just went for him.
Like, it's
I
crazy.
don't know. He definitely should have been.
Yeah, it's insane. I'm gonna
I
go
don't know.
with
Who do you think?
Matt Chapman. I think he's gonna sign somewhere and just kind of fall off a little bit this year.
And people are going to talk about him negatively, like as
Yeah,
in bad.
yeah. If he does poorly, I think he's gonna have a poor season.
Yeah. No, I'm still going to go Juan Soto. I think it'll be just a media thing.
Fair enough. All right,
Yeah.
final thing. What would you want as the first three in your order in their prime? Team
Mm.
A, Jimmy Rollins, Ronald Acuna, and Robinson Cano. Or Team B, Michael Bourne, Trey Turner, and Juan Soto.
I'm definitely going Team B. Michael Bourne was fucking
I'm
sick.
so
I
glad. Okay,
love Michael Bourne.
I was hoping that I wouldn't have to like talk to you about how cool and good Michael Bourne was. He was
No,
so
dude.
fucking good. I remember watching
Loved
him
him.
in Atlanta. He was sick. He only played 1 year in
Yeah.
Atlanta, and I vividly remember it.
Wow.
He was awesome. Stolen base guy through and through, which is just the best. If you're a stolen base guy, you're like the coolest dude out there.
Yeah.
I think like if that's what you
Every time.
specialize in, it's awesome. He was an all-star
Yeah.
with the Braves in 2012.
Why did he only spend 1 year there if he was an all-star?
I think Cleveland like forked over some money. Well, because he was technically for a year and a half. Um, and then I think he came back in like 2015. He got traded back to us from Cleveland.
No fucking way. His career batting average is
Oh
266
yeah, no, not a good batting average
for
guy.
Michael. Well, no, that was better than I expected.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think so. I want to look at some other Michael
Well, his
Bourne stats
stats
here.
aren't good. I'll just go ahead and preface with that. An OPS of 687 is fucking horrible. But he also just didn't really get extra base hits like for a lot of his career. Like he was capping out at like 25 doubles, and you know he'd grab a couple of triples here and there, but like no home runs really at all. He hit 36 home runs in 11 years in the league.
Jesus Christ, 61 stolen bases, two separate occasions
Yeah,
with two different teams.
yeah. He had 52
Um,
as well.
I don't. Maybe this isn't that surprising, but I feel like in 2012 with the Braves, a 391 slugging is kind of ridiculous for a player like Michael Bourne. It's kind of incredible.
Uh, it's not great, but yeah, like for his kind of play, yeah, it was pretty good. I think a lot of that, it was his most home runs in a season with 9.
Yeah,
And he
probably.
had 10 triples, which you don't see all too often.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Was that our
Michael
last
Bourne
question?
is awesome. It was our last question. I don't know if I'd go with
Damn.
Team B though. Michael Bourne's sick, but he doesn't get on base enough. Um, Whereas Jimmy Rollins was pretty solid at getting on base at the leadoff spot. And like, imagine Acuna is already good enough as a leadoff. If he had Jimmy Rollins getting on base every single fucking time, and then you have Acuna coming up after him, and then if Acuna doesn't hit a home run, Robinson Cano hits a home run. Like that's a dream setup. As much as I hate Jimmy Rollins
Yeah.
and Robinson Cano, considering Jimmy Rollins played for the Phillies and Robinson Cano played for the Mets and Yankees, um, I would love those three. Also, I don't know how Nathan picked these players, but I have a reason to hate all of them except Ronald Acuna and Michael Bourne.
Damn.
Yeah, I think I'd go Team A though. I like that tactically. Entertainment wise, I'm going Team B, but tactically, I'm going
Yeah,
Team A.
that's fair.
All right. Well, I think that concludes this episode of Second and Short. But there's one more thing. And it's that you need to be liking, subscribing, commenting on YouTube, turning on notifications. And then on the podcast platforms, you need to be rating 5 stars and following us there as well. Then go to the link tree. Luke just bailed on me. That's crazy. Wild. Wow. Crazy. Well, you see me twice at the moment. I guess I'll just... There he is. He's back.
My bad.
What the hell, Luke?
I have no idea what just happened.
I thought you just bailed on me because I told you to follow and
mid
subscribe.
outro.
Nonetheless, back to what I was saying. God, it really threw me off guard. Back to what I was saying. You need to be following, subscribing. You go to the link tree. You follow us on all the social media accounts, and yeah, I think that's really. Oh, join the Reddit, 2ND A&D short. And submit your questions before, like, I don't know, 3:00 on Thursdays, which is, a little bit before we record. So, yeah, make sure you guys have those questions submitted on Reddit. Make sure you're following and all that stuff. And Luke, anything else for the people?
No, man. I think I'm ready to get out of here. Gonna enjoy the championship games for sure.
Yep.
And excited for the FA Cup. Really good fixtures. Really good fixtures.
Well, you heard the man. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch you guys next week, and I'll be back with Colin, hopefully in person, on Monday. Peace.